Chapter 2490. Sit and talk. Jian Wushuang wore a cold expression as a powerful battle essence surged from his body. With his sword pointing forward, the energy from the endless cycle began to burst out. Hey, hey, hey. The sword lights that swept out were filled with hatred as it slashed through the void with sword essences filling up everywhere it passed by as if charting a way to heaven. 2 secret techniques, 7-star secret technique and divine god of punishment, were mustering in full force and unleashed the most powerful sword technique which Jian Wushuang self-created, hateful path toward heaven. Jian Wushuang had unleashed his abilities to its extreme with that strike. In the blink of an eye, a sword light filled with infinite hatred collided with the 3 crimson elephants. Boom! Like the collision of 2 worlds, the boundless blood ocean was almost completely turned over. A pervasive crimson color formed from the terrifying crimson windstorm shrouded the entire void where Jian Wushuang was. The various sex experts who were hiding in the surrounding void and those countless cultivators in Blazing Moon City gazed intensely at the eye of the crimson windstorm. Yunzhen was also staring at the storm when a strange light suddenly flashed in his eyes. With shattering noises, the crimson windstorm was torn open as a silhouette walked out and appeared before everyone's sight. You're truly the Lord of Great Compassion sect. Your abilities are remarkable. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and was secretly in awe. He had lost in the last clash. The energies of those 3 crimson elephants were extremely powerful. It had utterly crushed his sword technique and impacted his body. Jian Wushuang's recovery abilities were incredible, hence he did not get seriously injured. However, he was sure that any regular ultimate god experts such as Fan Jianxian or Njunju would be doomed if they took the crimson elephant's head-on. The battle strength of a high-leveled ultimate god was truly impressive. Although Jian Wushuang could fend off Lei Chong, Njunju, and Fan Jianxian's joint attack, they were far from being a high-leveled ultimate god. Jian Wushuang was impressed by Yunzhen's ability while Yunzhen was staring at him intensely. That palm strike of mine has completely crushed his sword technique and directly impacted his body, but he isn't even a bit injured in the end. With such physical defensive capabilities, it won't be enough to kill him even if my abilities were twice as strong, Yunzhen thought to himself. Jian Wushuang, my little friend. You've endured 3 palm strikes from me. Now we can sit and talk. Yunzhen waved his hand as he was speaking, causing a table and 2 chairs to appear in the void ahead. Please. Yunzhen extended his hand. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. His figure flashed and sat on one of those chairs. Yunzhen sat on the other chair with his eyes gazing at the surrounding void. My friends from various sects, you don't need to hide anymore. Please show yourselves. Following his words, many various sects experts who were hiding in the surrounding void showed their faces. Some were even lords of certain sects as all of them stood in the void around the table. Quite an audience here. Jian Wushuang intriguingly looked at them. His soul had power scanned through all of them and realized the 4 great ultimate gods of Great Compassion sect and 2 other ultimate gods, with one of them being Lord of Narcissus Island. The sects that you have gone against certainly are not few. Shall all of us sit down and resolve the issue since they're here? Yunzhen said quietly. How should it be resolved? Jian Wushuang looked at Yunzhen. We and the various sects are truly in the wrong by provoking you, as you only reacted accordingly. The Great Compassion sect and all the other sects should naturally apologize to you. In addition, if you have any requests, please don't hesitate to bring it up, my little friend. Well, not decline so long it's within our abilities, said Yunzhen. Yunzhen was undeniably very sincere. The sincerity shown did not only surprise Jian Wushuang. In fact, the various sects experts including Lei Chong and several supreme elders were equally surprised. The Great Compassion sect was the first-ranked sect in Wuxia Wilderness. It had an extremely strong foundation and had always been extremely high-handed when dealing with matters. Yunzhen, as a sect lord, was naturally filled with tricks. However, why did Yunzhen suddenly show humility and apologize to the other party? Even though Jian Wushuang had endured his 3 palm strikes, surely it need not have come to that. My lord, Lei Chong, Njunju, and Fan Jianxian secretly sent inquiry messages. I can't kill this Jian Wushuang and he naturally can't touch me either, judging from his current abilities. He's still far from being a threat toward the Great Compassion Sect. However, don't forget how young he's right now. According to the intelligence we've gathered, he's only in his early 20s. He could survive my attacks at merely his early 20s and a second-class divine demon to boot. Can you imagine what he would have become if given another 20 years? In other words, if he'd make a breakthrough into first-class, peak divine demon, or even an ultimate god like you, what will happen then? Yunjin replied to them. Lei Chong, and Junju, and Fan Jianxian fell silent. It was true. What was most terrifying about Jian Wushuang was not the ability he currently possessed, as it was still within the Great Compassion Sect's capability to control. It was Jian Wushuang's natural talent, potential, and the fact that he had abilities that allowed him to fight someone several levels higher. If he was already so strong as a second-class divine demon, what would happen if he finally became an ultimate god? The three Supreme Elders were not so foolish to assume Jian Wushuang would never make a breakthrough into the ultimate god realm. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang's breakthrough into an ultimate god was almost guaranteed. In fact, there was a huge possibility of him becoming an undying saint. As soon as Jian Wushuang became an ultimate god, it would be child's play for him to annihilate the Great Compassion Sect with his level-skipping abilities. The decision has been made. What we should do is to form relations with Jian Wushuang, and we should befriend him if possible. It's always better to have a friend rather than a powerful enemy, said Yunjin. The three Supreme Elders agreed and did not argue further after listening to his explanation. Next to the table, Jian Wushuang was sitting there and looking intriguingly at Yunjin. Yunjin's reaction was truly out of Jian Wushuang's expectations, but perhaps because of a lord like Yunjin, the Great Compassion Sect could continue to flourish. Jian Wushuang said coldly, seeing that Lord Yun has spoken frankly to me, I shall not be ambiguous either. If you want me to cease feeling resentful toward the Great Compassion Sect, you'll have to promise me a few things. First of all, I need some materials for my instrument cultivation. I tried finding these materials through other channels previously. Unfortunately, it's so rare I couldn't get my hands on them. The Great Compassion Sect has a strong background. Perhaps you can help me with this. Chapter 2491. Conditions, Instrument Cultivation Materials? Lei Chong, and Junju, and Fan Jianxian looked at each other and thought it was not a big deal. The Great Compassion Sect was able to provide some cultivation materials, of course. I wonder what kind of materials are you looking for? Yunjin asked. 4 portions of Red Sun Secret Essence, 5 red blood fruits, 2 drops of purple shimmer, 100 pieces of spectacular beast scales, and 10,000 pounds of celestial iron ore, said Jian Wushuang. The 3 Supreme Elders were dumbfounded when they heard his request. Various sects experts were also shocked beyond words. Red Sun Secret Essence, red blood fruit, purple shimmer, spectacular beast scales, and celestial iron oregon. All of them were difficult to find. Jian Wushuang was asking that much in one go? Boy, are you trying to put us in an awkward position? All of these are rare materials. Don't tell me you're planning to cultivate a heavenly treasure. Even cultivating regular heavenly treasure doesn't require such rare materials, Lei Chong said in anger. I'm not trying to embarrass the Great Compassion Sect. I genuinely need those materials, said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang planned on using those materials to cultivate his life armor. He requested Wu Jian to look for it before, but he could not find any of them. Don't tell me the Great Compassion Sect can't even provide some of the materials? Jian Wushuang jeered. Yunjin pondered for a while before raising his head and said, Of the materials you asked, we do have celestial iron ore and red blood fruit and can provide them anytime. As for Red Sun Secret Essence, we only have 3 portions, but it shouldn't be hard to find another portion. Spectacular Beast Scale may prove challenging to obtain. I'm afraid the entire Wuxia wilderness may not even have 100 pieces, but we can use our influence to search for them in other territories. It may take a few months to half a year before we can gather the quantity you asked for. I'm afraid the troublesome one is only the purple shimmer. Can you find it? Jian Wushuang looked at Yunjin. He knew that among all those instrument cultivation materials, purple shimmer was the rarest and hardest to find. The Great Compassion sect only has 1 drop of purple shimmer. As for the second drop, I know who has it, but it's not easy to get it from him. However, I'll try my best to ask for it. If I can't get it from him, there's nothing else I can do, said Yunjin directly. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. 2 drops of purple shimmer was what he needed, but being able to get even 1 drop was quite fortuitous, while the second drop would depend solely on luck. Other than these instrument cultivation materials, I would also need some primordial stones, said Jian Wushuang. Primordial stones contained pure divine powers. Every single one of them had an extraordinarily high content of divine powers. In the market, a primordial stone was comparable to about 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power, and that was purely from a conversion aspect. Primordial stones contain the purest form of divine powers. It was even purer than those 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. Jian Wushuang had tasted the benefit before in divine power ocean within Saint's tomb, so he wanted to rely on his terrifying absorption speed and tempering of divine powers to raise his cultivation stage. Naturally, he needs to have enough divine powers to do so. Absorbing and tempering divine powers from primordial stones were more convenient and effective than absorbing ancient god divine power. How many primordial stones do you need? Yunjin looked over. Not many, 10,000 would suffice, said Jian Wushuang. 10,000? Yunjin was dumbfounded. Jian Wushuang, how dare you to say that 10,000 primordial stones is not many? Lei Chong immediately roared. But, is that a lot? Jian Wushuang looked strange. The primordial stones was a request he made according to his needs. He had just reached the second-class divine demon and needed a huge amount of divine powers to upgrade himself into a first-class divine demon. He estimated that 10,000 primordial stones would be enough to make a breakthrough, hence the request. However, it seemed like he had asked too much. Jian Wushuang, the number of primordial stones you ask for is truly too many. You need to know that the market value for a single piece of primordial stone is equivalent to 10,000 ancient god divine power. Many peak divine demons couldn't afford it even after using up all their wealth. Even though the Great Compassion sect has an extraordinary foundation and is the first-ranked sect in Wuxia Wilderness, it's impossible to present 10,000 pieces of primordial stones in one go, said Yunjin. Lei Chong was hot-headed and immediately growled coldly. Even when making an offering every millennium to the territorial lord of wilderness, the Great Compassion sect only offers up to 1,000 primordial stones. Who are you to ask that many from us? Shut up. Yunjin glancing at Lei Chong. Lei Chong held his tongue despite feeling furious. Yunjin was quite kind to Jian Wushuang, but that was out of necessity. Normally, he was extremely overbearing to others. Although Lei Chong was a supreme elder, he was still very respectful and fearful of Yunjin. It looks like my requests are a bit overboard, said Jian Wushuang anxiously. Yunjin looked at him again. What do you think about this, Jian Wushuang? There are many sects that have offended you. The Great Compassion sect will discuss with them and offer you 3,000 pieces of primordial stones. The Great Compassion sect could at most only offer 3,000 primordial stones after discussing it with the other sections. If the request for 3,000 primordial stones were solely directed at the Great Compassion sect, it would have been a huge loss. Jian Wushuang nodded. That's fine. I have one last request. Do tell. Yunjin was being very patient. Lord Yunjin would have probably guessed I would be leaving Wuxia Wilderness soon and adventure to other territories, but I'm afraid that as soon as I leave Wuxia Wilderness, the safety of my family could be at stake. Hence, my last request toward the Great Compassion sect is to guarantee their safety. Otherwise, regardless of what the reasons are, I'll blame the Great Compassion sect if my family is harmed. Jian Wushuang's voice was frosty. That condition was made to ensure the safety of his family. In the end, he had run-ins with way too many sects and severely injured many of them. Although they were shocked by his abilities and would not do anything up front, those who held grudges might use dirty tactics as soon as he left Wuxia Wilderness. He did not wish to see Zhui Yunfeng and his wife being harmed when he returned next time. Chapter 2492, The Dust Settled, This Condition of Yours. Yunjin pondered for a while and finally said, I can promise you that after you leave Wuxia Wilderness, I'll assign experts to secretly protect your parents and make sure no harm would come to them. However, your big sister and second brother are both disciples of other sections. They are bound to train in the outside world and might even get involved with intersect fights. The Great Compassion Sect is unable to guarantee their safety. However, I promise you that I'll warn those various sects experts that other than reasonable intersect fights, anyone who dares seek revenge on both of them due to their grudges toward you will become the Great Compassion Sect's archenemy. Jian Wushuang was very satisfied with Yunjin's answer and praised him in his mind upon hearing that. That's all of my conditions. Since Lord Yunjin has agreed to them, I'll bear no grudge against the Great Compassion Sect and shall not cause any more troubles, said Jian Wushuang. Thank you. I shall have someone send over the instrument cultivation materials and 3,000 pieces of primordial stones as soon as possible. I must bid you farewell for now as I still have many affairs to attend to, said Yunjin. Farewell, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Yunjin and the three supreme elders soon left. As for those various sects experts, they looked at each other and felt there was nothing more they could do. They would naturally dare not cross Jian Wushuang any further since even the Great Compassion Sect had bowed down. Many sects began to communicate with the Great Compassion Sect and discussed how they should be splitting the 3,000 pieces of primordial stones burden. Other sects began to leave, but one sect stayed behind. They approached Jian Wushuang. Wushuang, our young friend. A warm voice came from beside Jian Wushuang as a few figures appeared there. Among them were Elder Wu Jian, Elder Lingyi, and the seventh elder whom Jian Wushuang was familiar. However, the one leading them was a gentleman in a green robe who was also the lord of Narcissus Island and an ultimate god expert, Ling Gong. Ah, it's the people from Narcissus Island. I wonder what's the matter? Jian Wushuang was expressionless as his voice turned even colder. Ling Gong and the rest felt slightly awkward. If not for their previous decisions, Jian Wushuang would have still been their disciple and called Ling Gong my lord. However, my young friend, what happened before was truly Narcissus Island's fault for not handling it well, but it was necessary for us to make such decisions at that time. I came here in person today not to ask for your forgiveness and return to being our disciple once again. I only came to ask for you not to hold a grudge against Narcissus Island. That alone would be satisfactory. Please accept these presents that I personally prepared for you. Ling Gong presented an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang accepted and scanned it before nodding slightly. There were many elixirs, natural treasures, and 500 primordial stones. Please don't worry, gentlemen. I'm a person who remembers others' good deeds. Other than expelling me, Narcissus Island did not wrong me in any way. I shall accept these presents and from here on, Narcissus Island and I'll not have any relations, let alone grudges. Please return safely. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. Ling Gong and the rest felt relieved. Jian Wushuang looked at Wu Jian who stood behind. Brother Wu Jian, it's rare for you to come and visit me. Stay for a drink before you leave. Well, Wu Jian was a little hesitant and could not help but look at Ling Gong. Elder Wu Jian, it's very kind of our young friend to invite you. Why don't you stay a while and drink with him? Ling Gong said. Yes. Wu Jian nodded. My young friend Wushuang, we shall take our leave since we've said all we wanted to, said Ling Gong humbly. Be safe now. Jian Wushuang's tone sounded rather indifferent. Those people from Narcissus Island left with the exception of Wu Jian. Jian Wushuang held Wu Jian's arm and went back to the governor's mansion. Zhuo Yunfeng, Luo Xinqin, Zhuo Bing, and Zhuo Peng were relieved when they saw Jian Wushuang return safely. They were constantly worried about Jian Wushuang's safety. After that, they threw a small banquet. Other than Jian Wushuang and his family, Wu Jian and the head of the Lin family, Lin Taifeng, were both invited. Everyone was happily drinking. Ha, you scared me to death, brother Wushuang. That was the Great Compassion Sect you were dealing with. Even Yunjin had personally shown up, but he still couldn't do anything to you. He even accepted your conditions. Thanks. Of all the years I've been an elder of Narcissus Island, I've never seen the Great Compassion Sect being so docile. Wu Jian exclaimed at his seat. If he had not witnessed it himself, he would not have believed the Lord of Great Compassion sect would agree to Jian Wushuang's ridiculous conditions. Jian Wushuang only smiled faintly. It isn't the Great Compassion sect being docile, they merely didn't dare to show their tempers. That Yunzhen was only testing my strength with his 3 palm strikes. In the end, he knew he couldn't kill me. In addition to my obvious talents and potentials, I would have grown to a level I could annihilate the Great Compassion sect with the flick of a finger in time. He bowed down because he had no choice. If he didn't bow down, the Great Compassion sect would have perished. That's true. Wu Jian laughed. Meanwhile, Zhui Yunfeng and the others sigh in relief. That was the Great Compassion sect, the first-ranked sect of Wuxia Wilderness. For Zhui Yunfeng's son to have the potential to destroy the Great Compassion sect which forced them to bow down, such abilities were just. Zhui Yunfeng was just incredibly proud of his son. Oh yes, brother Wu Jian. As I was talking to Yunzhen, Lei Chong mentioned the Great Compassion sect would offer the territorial lord 1,000 primordial stones every millennium. Who exactly is this territorial lord? Jian Wushuang asked. The Great Compassion sect was the dominant sect of Wuxia Wilderness, but they still had to offer 1,000 pieces of primordial stones to the territorial lord every millennium. Jian Wushuang got curious about the territorial lord's identity. Wu Jian's expression turned serious. Territorial lord? I know about this territorial lord, and what Lei Chong said is true. Not only Great Compassion sect but every sect in Wuxia Wilderness would also have to offer a certain number of primordial stones every millennium, including Narcissus Island. The Great Compassion sect would gather the stones and send them to the territorial lord. As for his true identity, he's the lord of Northern Darkstar Territory. Northern Darkstar Territory? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. The Northern Darkstar Territory was a place he read about from one of the records. Chapter 2493, Territory Lord. Ancient God Domain was vast and borderless. Wuxia Wilderness was only a small portion of the Ancient God Domain and was easily ignored. In normal circumstances, only when multiple wilderness combined would a star territory formed. When multiple star territories combined, it then became a domain. For example, Crimson Stone Saint was a domain lord in his mortal life who established the Crimson Stone Fort and was in complete control of a whole domain. There were a total of 381 star territories within his domain. A domain lord was a prominent figure in Ancient God Domain. Usually, only experts who were an undying saint or above were qualified to become the lord of a certain domain. Although a star territorial lord could not be compared with a domain lord, to be capable of leading so many wilderness would require one to have possessed extremely high abilities. As far as I know, Northern Darkstar Territory has at least 100 wilderness. Our Wuxia Wilderness is merely one of them. Every millennium, sects from each wilderness would honor the territorial lord by offering a certain number of primordial stones, just like how Federalists in mortal worlds would make offerings to their emperor every certain period. Of course, a star territorial lord could be considered an emperor on his own, said Wu Jian. Jian Wushuang nodded quietly. The territorial lord controls the entire star territory, which contains many wilderness sects who made offerings every millennium. The number of sects from the accumulative wilderness were so numerous that those primordial stones a territorial lord received every millennium were huge. A territorial lord must be very powerful to force sects from every wilderness to provide primordial stones tributes with every millennium, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course. In the Ancient God Domain, almost every star territorial lord is at least an Earth ultimate god, with some even being heaven ultimate gods in order for them to keep the entire wilderness under control by themselves. Furthermore, every territorial lord has his official army, which has extremely high battle strength filled with ultimate gods and divine demons. They are also the territorial lord's means to stay in power, said Wu Jian. Is Earth ultimate god the weakest within the ultimate god cultivation level? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. In the Ancient God Domain, ultimate gods can be further subcategorized to regular ultimate god, Earth ultimate god, Heaven ultimate, and Grand ultimate god. The 4 categories of ultimate gods had tremendous strength differences. When one broke through to a new cultivation level, his ability would have fundamental changes. In Wuxia Wilderness, the ultimate gods Jian Wushuang had met were merely regular ultimate gods. For example, the three supreme elders were only at primary level regular ultimate god. The Lord of Great Compassion sect, Yunzhen, was only a high-level regular ultimate god. Above high-level regular ultimate gods were peak regular ultimate god. Only after going through that could one have the opportunity to make a breakthrough into the ranks of Earth ultimate god. In many wildernesses under Northern Darkstar territory, regular ultimate god is already the highest rank they could achieve. It's difficult to produce an Earth ultimate god. Even if one was produced, he or she would choose to wander into the larger territory. They would seldom stay at a star territory to become the local authority. As for this territorial lord, he had the battle strength of an Earth ultimate god and a powerful official army under him. That's why many sects within the wilderness had to make primordial stones offerings. If he made an order, no one within Northern Darkstar territory would dare defy him, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his mind. Jian Wushuang, you could very well become an Earth ultimate god since you have such talents. If you are willing, you could also find ways to conquer a star territory and become a territorial lord by then and enjoy your position as a local authority, said Wu Jian in jest. Ha, we'll see by then. Jian Wushuang laughed. Wu Jian thought Jian Wushuang was only answering him perfunctorily. He had no idea the thought of becoming a territorial lord had begun growing in Jian Wushuang's mind. After all, as soon as one became a territorial lord, one would receive a huge number of primordial stones every millennium, and Jian Wushuang needed primordial stones. However, he knew very well that if he could not even defeat a high-level regular ultimate god such as Yunzhen, he was truly far from becoming an Earth ultimate god. Wu Jian stayed at the governor's residence for 2 days before returning to Narcissus Island. Jian Wushuang did not try asking him to stay. The third day after Wu Jian left one of the Great Compassion sect's supreme elders, Junju arrived at Blazing Moon City. These are 3,000 pieces of primordial stones that we and all those sects had gathered. Lord Yunzhen instructed me to bring you these 3,000 pieces first. As for the instrumental cultivation materials, the Great Compassion sect will collect them and Lord Yunzhen shall personally send them to you, said Junju. In that case, please thank Lord Yunzhen for me. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. After Junju left, Jian Wushuang found a secret room and sat down cross-legged. In front of him was a collection of 3,500 primordial stones in total. Junju had sent 3,000 while another 500 pieces were given by Narcissus Island. Jian Wushuang randomly picked up a primordial stone and a terrifying ingesting power exploded. In a short moment, the pure divine powers that filled the primordial stone were completely absorbed by him. As expected, Jian Wushuang's eyes were twinkling with light. Although one primordial stone's worth on the market is equivalent to 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power, the divine powers contained in it is worth more than 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. Most importantly, divine powers in primordial stone are a few times purer than ancient god divine power, hence it helps me quite a lot. A total of 3,500 pieces of primordial stones. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. The terrifying ingesting power exploded once again as it ruthlessly ingested and refined the primordial stones. His speed of ingestion and refinement was unbelievable. Within a day, he had finished refining all 3,500 primordial stones. The primordial stones had also turned into regular stones with some even cracked. Phew! Jian Wushuang exhaled lightly and gradually opened his eyes. Compared to absorbing ancient god divine power from divine power ocean, absorbing primordial stones is more effective. It's a shame that the number of primordial stones is not enough. Although refining 3,500 pieces of primordial stones helped increase my divine powers, it didn't help me to achieve a breakthrough. It's even a little shy from reaching the peak of second-class divine demon. If I want to make a breakthrough to first-class divine demon, I'll need a lot more primordial stones. Jian Wushuang's eyes had shown a little desire as he once again thought of the Northern Darkstar territorial lord. If I ever have a chance, I should try becoming a territorial lord. Chapter 2494, Strange Old Feng. After the incident, Wuxia Wilderness had gradually calmed down. The sects returned to their norm with disciples fighting and wandering around as they usually would. Nothing much had changed in Wuxia Wilderness. The only change was the disciples from every sect's admiration toward Jian Wushuang. He was a super demon who forced the Great Compassion sect to bow down to him by relying entirely on his own abilities. During these calm moments, Jian Wushuang spent his days quietly within the walls of Blazing Moon City and cultivating secret techniques. In Saint's Tomb, he made a breakthrough to second-class Divine Demon Realm from Peak Chaotic Realm in an instant. Naturally, some of those secret techniques he was practicing could also be upgraded, but there was no time. Now, he finally had the luxury to begin advancing those secret techniques peacefully. For months past, a figure floated in the void and hovered above Blazing Moon City Governor's residence as he stopped. "My young friend, Jian Wushuang." A deep but friendly voice resonated towards the governor's residence. In a short moment, a voice transmitting from within the governor's residence, "Lord Yunzhen is finally here. Please come in." Yunzhen immediately flew into the governor's residence. In a yard under the willow tree where Jian Wushuang spent his younger days reading various journals, Jian Wushuang and Yunzhen sat at a stone table and faced each other. There were quality wine and fruits on the table. "Lord Yun, you only return after 4 months. I hope you bring good tidings?" Jian Wushuang smiled. Yunzhen turned his palm upwards and presented an interspatial ring he had prepared. "As per your request, 4 portions of Red Sun Secret Essence, 5 red blood fruits, 100 spectacular beast scales, and 10,000 pounds of celestial iron Oregon. We had to obtain spectacular beast scales from other domains, hence the long wait. By the way, the 2 drops of purple shimmer which you requested for. I apologize that I could only find a drop of it," said Yunzhen. Jian Wushuang took a glance. It was true. Everything was there except for the other drop of purple shimmer. Jian Wushuang frowned. "Only a drop of purple shimmer is missing? Didn't you say you know who has the other drop? Don't tell me you couldn't ask from that person with your background and abilities?" "My young friend, I've already told you that even though I know who possesses it, it won't be easy to get. I tried many ways, but unfortunately couldn't convince him to give me the purple shimmer." Yunzhen smiled wryly. "May I ask who has the purple shimmer?" Jian Wushuang asked. "He's called Strange Old Feng. Have you heard of him?" Yunzhen asked. Jian Wushuang shook his head. "No. If even Lord Yunzhen can't convince him, I guess he's at least an ultimate god expert?" "Correct. Strange Old Feng is an ultimate god. Furthermore, one with extremely strong abilities and very hard to deal with. I hear you were in Luogu territory not long ago, so I assumed you probably know the situation over there?" Yunzhen said. "Luogu territory?" Jian Wushuang's heart was racing. When he heard of the words Luogu territory, the first thing he thought of was the mysterious reincarnated expert, Miss Xiao. The reason he, Xiao Heng, and a few other disciples of Narcissus Island went to Luogu territory was to rescue Miss Xiao. Luogu territory was the most chaotic place in Wuxia Wilderness with the highest ruthless killings. Yunzhen began to explain, "There are 9 cities in Luogu territory, with 9 different governors, but the real power that controls Luogu territory are a few reclusive supreme ultimate gods who hide in the dark. Strange Old Feng is one of them. Furthermore, he's an eccentric who's extremely withdrawn. A few genius disciples from the Great Compassion sect were wandering around Luogu territory years ago and carelessly had a run-in with him. He cut off all their limbs and hung them up the city walls before torturing them to death. When we learned about this occurrence, Supreme Elder Lei Chong personally went to seek justice for those disciples, hence the start of enmity between Strange Old Feng and us. Moreover, our hatred only grew stronger following multiple conflicts. In the end, I had to personally intervene and lead our 3 Supreme Elders to attack him, but he was incredibly fast and very good at staying alive. The 4 of us were cornered and couldn't kill him. We came to a stalemate, and since it wouldn't do us any good if the fight continued, we stopped fighting. After that battle, we never took initiative to cross each other again. However, our hatred didn't get resolved. According to our intelligence, the purple shimmer is in his possession. Recently, I have personally gone to look for him and tried to convince him many times. I went to the extent of offering something of the equal value and even something of a higher value than the purple shimmer. Unfortunately, he didn't agree. Yunjin looked helpless. He had truly done what he could, but strange old Feng was relentless. Really? Jian Wushuang finally understood. The two parties already had hatred towards each other, but since neither of them could hurt the other, they were forced to stop fighting. Unlike Jian Wushuang and the Great Compassion sect who completely cast aside their grudges. In a situation as such, it would be normal for strange old Feng to not hand over the purple shimmer to his enemy. Lord Yunzhen, since this is the case, would strange old Feng exchange the purple shimmer with me if I personally look for him? Jian Wushuang smiled. Well, I can't say for sure. Strange old Feng is a peculiar one and you can't predict him as you do with a normal person after all. If you find him personally, he may or may not hand it to you. What's worse is that he could just kill you. Of course, you don't have to be afraid of strange old Feng with your abilities. I'd say, give it a try, said Yunzhen. In that case, could you come with me? Jian Wushuang asked. Not a problem. When would you like to go? Yunzhen agreed heartily. Shall we go now? Jian Wushuang smiled. After he informed Zhui Yunfeng, he and Yunzhen began their journey to Luogu territory. There were 9 cities in Luogu territory with each of them humongous and filled with experts. Following Yunzhen's lead, Jian Wushuang arrived at one of the cities. Is strange old Feng living in the city? Jian Wushuang squinted and spread out his soul power. Chapter 2495. Crazy old man. The city was huge. Hence, Jian Wushuang's soul power could only cover a small area and did not manage to find any aura of an ultimate god expert. Strange old Feng has a strange way with things. I've just inquired and it seems like he's currently in a fighting arena, said Yunzhen. Jian Wushuang got slightly excited before nodding and said, A fighting arena? Lord Yun, I would like you to wait here while I'll go meet him. If he's willing to exchange the purple shimmer with me, it will save a lot of effort. If he's not, he'll have to ask you to fight alongside me and force him to hand it over with our overwhelming abilities. No problem, answered Yunzhen very heartily. Helping Jian Wushuang to obtain the second drop of purple shimmer was to honor their agreement. Yunzhen naturally had to help. Jian Wushuang entered the city and soon arrived at a gigantic fighting arena in the city center. The arena was so wide and looked boundless enough to fit 1 million audiences. There was a big gymnasium in the center with 2 chaotic divine demons engaging in an intense fight. The fights in Luogu territory's fighting arenas did not stop until death occurred. It was insane as the fight would only end if one of the experts died. It was because of that the fighting arena attracted a lot of experts to attend. There were countless experts sitting around the gymnasium while shouting and growling in a frenzy. Among them was one especially passionate person. It was a dirty old man who was clad in torn black robes, incredibly messy hair, and dirt-covered body as if he was a beggar. Ha! My disciple, go. Kill him off. Don't mess around with him, just twist his head off. Press him down, press him down. Don't make me lose face. The dirty old man's voice was the loudest and most piercing one, making a lot of people look at him. Jian Wushuang spotted the dirty old man immediately the moment he entered the fighting arena. Is he strange old Feng? Jian Wushuang squinted slightly. Judging from his looks and actions, the dirty old man did not look like an expert at all. However, Jian Wushuang's senses were clearly telling him that among those cultivators in the arena, that dirty old man was the only one who possessed an incomparably strong aura. He was obviously an ultimate god. As for those 2 people fighting in the gymnasium, the one who was tall and muscular seemed like strange old Feng's disciple. He sends his disciple to fight to his death in an arena. Doesn't he worry about his disciple getting killed? Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He could tell that strange old Feng's disciple was only a second-class divine demon. His battle strength was normal and not considered strong. His opponent was also a second-class divine demon. At the moment, It was hard to predict who would survive the fight. However, luck seemed to side with strange old Feng's disciple as he narrowly won. His opponent's head was blasted open, but his shoulder was pierced through by a three-finger attack, leaving behind 3 bloody holes and a very pale face. "Hi, you won. You won again." Strange old Feng was overjoyed and looked extremely crazy. At one corner of the arena, the face of a chubby and greasy middle-aged man turned gloomy. "Supervisor, this guy has won 3 games consecutively, and those who lost to him are our resident divine demons. That crazy old fart who screams like a banshee is probably his master. He bet a lot of ancient god divine powers on his disciple before every game. We're suffering a big loss with just these 3 games," said an assistant in black respectfully to the supervisor. "How much did we lose?" asked the supervisor coldly. The crazy old fart bet 1,000 drops of ancient god divine powers during the first game. After he won, he bet another 2,000 drops for the second game, then 4,000 for the third. "We've lost 7,000 drops of ancient god divine power to this crazy old man alone, and that doesn't include the other bets," said the assistant in black. The supervisor was not happy. 7,000 drops of ancient god divine power. Doesn't that equate to the entire savings of a lesser peak divine demon? Watch them both. Kill them right away as soon as they leave the arena. Bring back all the ancient god divine powers which we lost and their interspatial ring. Yes. The assistant in black went on to oversee the arrangement immediately. Running a huge fighting arena in one of Luogu territory's 9 cities meant terrifyingly high profit. However, the high profit did not just come from obvious gains. It also included some shady businesses in the dark. For example, the 7,000 drops of ancient god divine power was enough of a reason to do said shady business. Soon after, strange old Feng left the fighting arena with his disciple. Not long after exiting the fighting area, on the streets, more than 20 figures surrounded them. "Master!" The disciple was startled. He was only a second-class divine demon, while those who appeared before them were divine demon experts. Among them, there were 6 second-class divine demons and a first-class divine demon. "Old fart, you'd better give up all the ancient god divine power you have won and your interspatial rings, then we'll let you live," ordered the first-class divine demon. "Huh, isn't it true that there's no such thing as free lunch? However, you're very foolish to rob me." Strange old Feng scoffed. His black figure flashed and disappeared. A second later, he was back to where he stood. The disciple looked around confused as he found around 20 people, which included those 6 second-class and a first-class divine demon, collapsed together on the ground. Their blood spilled everywhere. The disciple was shocked at first but became overjoyed right after. He knew that he had studied under the right teacher. His master was absolutely an earth-shattering super expert who was perhaps a peak divine demon. No, probably even stronger. "Let's go, kid," said strange old Feng. The disciple nodded and followed his master. However, strange old Feng stopped once again after taking 2 steps. Strange old Feng raised his head and saw a young man carrying a sword on his back standing on the streets ahead with his arms crossed, and walked toward them. "There's more of them?" Strange old Feng felt slightly surprised. His soul power briefly scanned their surroundings but did not find another person's existence. Moreover, this person before him looked very young, but he could not see through him. That surprised strange old Feng even more. Finally, the young man went up to him. "Greetings, Senior Feng." Jian Wushuang greeted humbly. Chapter 2496, Doing It the Hard Way. "Who are you, kid?" Strange old Feng looked at Jian Wushuang with his weird evil eyes. "Doesn't matter who I am. I'm just here to make an exchange with you, Senior Feng," said Jian Wushuang. "What kind of exchange?" Strange old Feng asked. "I hear you have a drop of purple shimmer. I would like to exchange for it. I hope Senior Feng is willing to give it to me. I'll of course exchange it for something of equal or even higher value," said Jian Wushuang. Strange old Feng's face turned cold. "Purple shimmer? Hee, Yunjin from Great Compassion Sect came to look for me and wanted it as well not long ago. Unfortunately, I didn't agree." He wanted it but couldn't get it, and now he's playing with his little tricks and asking a kid like you to exchange for it. Haha, does he think I'm an idiot? No matter what tactics he uses, the Great Compassion Sect can only dream about getting the purple shimmer from me. I'd rather destroy the purple shimmer than handing it to them. Jian Wushuang panicked and said, Senior Feng, I'm not from the Great Compassion Sect and am in no way related to them either. Hee hee, do I look like I care if you're related to them or otherwise? No matter what, I won't give the purple shimmer to anyone. Only thing is, kid, strange old Feng shot a glance at Jian Wushuang as his eyes shined with a discreet but sharp glint. I don't like your face, so you must die. A wind blade immediately formed from nothing in front of strange old Feng. In a flash, the wind blade disappeared, and in the next moment, it appeared before Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had not expected strange old Feng to suddenly attack him as his face turned gloomy. Furthermore, strange old Feng performed a deadly move immediately without worrying about his status as an ultimate god expert. However, it was not a threat to Jian Wushuang with that impromptu wind blade. Jian Wushuang merely raised his hand, gripped the wind blade, and shattered it. Oh! Strange old Feng was surprised. Second-class divine demon? Strange old Feng's disciple looked over in shock. When Jian Wushuang was fighting, he concealed his divine power aura, hence nobody would sense his actual cultivation level. As strange old Feng started a fight with him, his second-class divine demon's divine power aura had been revealed. You're a mere second-class divine demon, yet you could easily fend off my attack? Interesting. Strange old Feng smiled weirdly, but his expression suddenly changed. Oh, by the way, I heard rumors of a monster in Wuxia Wilderness defeating 3 supreme elders of great compassion outside Saint's tomb, being only at the cultivation level of divine demon realm. After that, he even endured 3 direct palm strikes from Yun Zhen and forced the Great Compassion Sect to lower their heads. That monster is also good at sword principles and is very young. I guess that's you? Yes, it is. Jian Wushuang immediately admitted. Ha, it's really you. I think I remember your name, something like Jian Wushuang? Strange old Feng giggled. That's correct. So I take it that you understand I have nothing to do with the Great Compassion Sect. As for the purple shimmer, it is me who wants it. I'm only forcing the Great Compassion Sect to get it for me. I wonder if you are willing to exchange the purple shimmer with me now? Jian Wushuang asked. In his mind, strange old Feng had deep grudges against the Great Compassion Sect, and the fact the Great Compassion Sect suffered a great loss under Jian Wushuang would have meant he helped strange old Feng let off some steam. In addition, the purple shimmer was not useful to strange old Feng. Strange old Feng should probably be willing to exchange it with him. However, hell no. Strange old Feng directly waved his hand. Kid, whether or not you have a relationship with the Great Compassion Sect has got nothing to do with me. The purple shimmer is my possession. It's my freedom whether I want to exchange it or not, and now I don't want you to have it, but if you can of course insist on having it. However, there's one condition. What would that be? Jian Wushuang was still calm inside. It's very simple. You knew I have beef with the Great Compassion Sect. Although you've killed many of its disciples, the effects toward their sect aren't strong. I want you to seriously hurt Great Compassion Sect once by, for example, killing one of their supreme elders or something. Strange old Feng grinned devilishly. You want me to kill a supreme elder from the Great Compassion Sect? Jian Wushuang squinted. That's right. A supreme elder is worth a drop of purple shimmer. If you do so, you don't need to exchange anything with me. I'll give you that drop of purple shimmer directly. What do you say? Strange old Feng smiled. Jian Wushuang, you can take your time to think about it. After all, you have pissed them off once and they couldn't do anything to you. There's no reason you can't do it again if that's the case. Jian Wushuang said, my grudge with the Great Compassion Sect is already over, plus I've made peace with all the other sections. I'm not like you. I do care about my status as a person. If the Great Compassion Sect doesn't cross me again, I won't attack them. Is that so? Then I can't help you. That drop of purple shimmer will always stay in my interspatial ring, hee hee. Even though it doesn't do me much good by keeping it, Just watching you suckers scratching your heads over it makes me happy. Strange old Feng began to giggle. Looks like it's impossible to have a fair trade with you. Jian Wushuang's eyesight began to turn frosty. He did not plan to fight, as strange old Feng was an ultimate god after all. If the joint attacks of Yun Zhen and his 3 supreme elders could not even defeat him, he was not one to be taken lightly. Jian Wushuang knew it was wise not to cross him, hence he was being polite and humble throughout. Naturally, it would be best if strange old Feng was willing to exchange. However, strange old Feng was not willing, hence Jian Wushuang had employed more forceful tactics. Now you want to do it the hard way since the easy way didn't work? Who do you think you are? Strange old Feng was not afraid at all while he looked at Jian Wushuang in ridicule. It's not possible if I'm the only one doing it, but Jian Wushuang smiled. What if I joined in? A grand deep voice suddenly filled the air. Yun Zhen's figure suddenly appeared in the void. Oh, Yun Zhen? You guys seem prepared. Strange old Feng's expression darkened as well but felt no fear. Strange old Feng, hand over the purple shimmer. I'm still willing to exchange it for something more valuable. If not, he'll have to attack. Don't forget your disciple is right here. Aren't you worried I would kill him? Jian Wushuang's voice was cold and slightly threatening. Chapter 2497, 1,000 Feet Divine God, did you say kill my disciple? Strange old Feng smiled menacingly. Master, don't worry about me. Strange old Feng's disciple had just spoken, but his eyes popped out in surprise before he had finished speaking. A dry old palm had penetrated his body with a terrifying force and completely crushed his internal organs. The disciple's expression was one of disbelief as he fell to the ground. You actually killed your own disciple? Jian Wushuang's face showed consternation. Strange old Feng is cruel and vicious. He has been alone. How could he possibly want a disciple for real? He probably treats his disciple like a toy collected at will, said Yun Zhen. Strange old Feng waved his palm and said with a wicked laugh. Hee hee, Yun Zhen sure knows me best. Now that no one's in the way, let me see how powerful the most heaven-defying divine demon in the history of Wuxia Wilderness. His body was surging with an aura that only ultimate god experts could possess while speaking. His breath of power carried a hint of malice that engulfed the entire place. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed slightly. Just considering the breath of power alone, strange old Feng's aura was stronger than the 3 supreme elders of the Great Compassion sect, but was a far cry from a high-level ultimate god such as Yun Zhen. He has reached peak early-stage ultimate god realm. Jian Wushuang concluded on strange old Feng's strength. Strange old Feng made a move. A blast of cold wind swept across the sky at a terrifying speed. After strange old Feng went at full speed, he did not swoop in the direction where Jian Wushuang was to everyone's surprise. Instead, he turned and ran away. Running away? Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold and his figure immediately sprang out to chase after strange old Feng. Haha, I'm not stupid to contend with both of you at the same time. There was a peal of loud, unbridled laughter from strange old Feng. This old thing is very cunning. Yun Zhen's face sulked as he went after Jian Wushuang to kill strange old Feng. The 3 of them were extremely fast. Not long after, they were outside the city. Jian Wushuang, I've dealt with strange old Feng before. His current speed is already amazingly fast, but he still has a life-saving secret technique. Once he uses it, his speed will rise to another level which enables him to shake both of us off from pursuing after him, said Yun Zhen. It shouldn't be easy for him to cast that technique, right? Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice. Well, it's not easy, but if he has no choice, he'll do it, said Yun Zhen. We shall not give him the chance to perform it then. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold as he chased after strange old Feng alongside Yun Zhen. Suddenly, 2 holograms lurched forward at the same time and Jian Wushuang's speed increased and surpassed Yun Zhen. The distance between Jian Wushuang and strange old Feng was getting closer. Is Jian Wushuang that fast? Strange old Feng noticed the movements behind him and was surprised. Space-time apparition and there are 2 holograms. No wonder. However, he's alone, so even if he catches up to me, he can't do anything. Strange Old Feng was not bothered. He was also not in a rush to cast his life-saving secret technique. The distance between Jian Wushuang and Strange Old Feng was getting closer, with Jian Wushuang's eyes also getting colder. Finally, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a severe glare. "It's the time!" Buzz. Majestic golden divine power condensed abruptly behind Jian Wushuang. In a blink of an eye, it turned into a huge golden god shadow. The golden god shadow was different from the one he cast 4 months ago. 4 months ago, Jian Wushuang used the divine god of punishment secret technique and formed a 900 feet tall golden god shadow. For the past 4 months, Jian Wushuang stayed in Blazing Moon City and worked hard to improve the powers of those secret techniques he had. The golden god shadow he formed now had exceeded 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet golden god shadow. It represented the second level of the divine god of punishment technique and should not be taken lightly. The current golden shadow compared to 4 months ago was a whole new level, with its power at completely different levels. Under the amplification of golden god shadow, Jian Wushuang's breath of divine power soared before his big hands shot forward and clapped. Prison of punishment. Rumbling. Golden divine power shot out madly from the golden god shadow in all directions as it spread across the entire space and blotted out the heavens and covered the sun. Strange Old Feng was not far in front of Jian Wushuang as he rapidly fled. However, no matter how fast he was, he could not match up to the golden divine power's speed. In an instant, the vast golden divine power had surpassed him and condensed into a golden barrier at the void in front of him. A huge golden prison took shape. Both Jian Wushuang and Strange Old Feng were trapped within the golden prison. Prison? Strange Old Feng was nervous, but soon let out a cold snort. A dark red spear appeared in his hand. The dark red spear carried an infinite amount of evil spirits. It turned into a swift and violent lightning from being enveloped by the tyrannical divine powers of Strange Old Feng as it thrust fiercely towards the golden barrier. Bang! There was a loud noise. A spiral pit the size of a water bucket appeared on the golden barrier, but the spear did not penetrate the golden barrier. "This prison is so hard?" Strange Old Feng was surprised. He did not know one of the 5 most powerful secret techniques of the 7 Stars Black Sex. The divine god of punishment was extremely powerful and famous. 4 months ago, Jian Wushuang condensed only a 900 feet high golden god shadow, and the prison formed was not something an ordinary ultimate god could break away. Outside Saint's tomb, the 3 supreme elders of the Great Compassion sect were trapped in the prison of punishment, and Lei Chong had to use the thunderbolt bead, which he paid a great price to refine just for blasting a hole through the golden prison. The thunderbolt bead exploded, and the power it emanated alone was equivalent to a high-level ultimate god's power. When the golden god shadow had reached a height of 1,000 feet, the prison of punishment's powers had also increased by a huge amount. Even a high-level ultimate god as Yunjin had to use his strongest move just for attempting his luck to puncture a hole in the golden prison. Strange Old Feng was only at the peak early-stage ultimate god. It was impossible for him to break the golden prison. Chapter 2498, Compromised, Humph. After a cold snort, a second dark red spear appeared in Strange Old Feng's other palm. He was holding 2 spears and gathering streams of terrifying divine power in his hands as he rifled both spears swiftly towards the golden barrier. Bang, 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 bang. The spears drove towards the golden barrier over and over again, hitting the same spot 13 times. The pit that appeared on the barrier before gave way under the impact and began expanding in size, but at the same time, it was recovering at an astonishing speed. After receiving attacks from Strange Old Feng, the pit reverted to its original appearance and was still rapidly recovering. What? Strange Old Feng frowned. It's useless unless you can tear it down with a single blow or blast a hole through it. Otherwise, no matter how much impact you applied, it'll instantly recover. You can't escape. Jian Wushuang explained with a cold voice as his figure appeared behind Strange Old Feng without warnings. A grim and forbidding sword intent swept up. Jian Wushuang kept a cold and distant look. The Blood Mountain sword brandished at will in his hand. Sword light filled the space as a sea of swords formed in an instant and inundated Strange Old Feng. Strange Old Feng turned around immediately with his 2 spears emanating evil spirits. He decided to confront Jian Wushuang head-on. Jian Wushuang was extremely powerful. Although he had not used the 7-star secret technique, his divine powers were much stronger than before from absorbing 3,500 primordial stones. He also had the 1,000 feet golden god shadow behind him. Those sword lights spread out with each being extremely powerful and fast. This kid is strong. He's only a divine demon, but his combat prowess is no lesser than mine and perhaps even stronger than me. Strange Old Feng's face got uglier as both of them engaged in a battle. All of a sudden, Jian Wushuang's figure briefly stopped. The next moment, he dived steeply down with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand, evolving into a long snake. There were harsh clattering sounds as the void was torn apart like a piece of paper, with everything being dissolved into emptiness. It was soundless and stirless, with no traces of anything, except for a sword shadow that swept past. Space-time sword technique, 3rd form, pure shadow. It was a sword technique created during his enlightenment from Fengtian scroll in Saint's Tomb, but Jian Wushuang never used it before when he fought against the Great Compassion sect's ultimate gods. It was time for the pure shadow technique to show its powers. Clang. With loud clanging sounds, the spears in Strange Old Feng's hands skewed slightly when collided with the sword shadow. The sword shadow was like a phantom as it went straight towards Strange Old Feng's body. A layer of dim black light flashed on the surface of Strange Old Feng's body in the form of a heavy barrier. Bang! Strange Old Feng was sent falling back while Jian Wushuang stood firm in place. Strange Old Feng has strong self-defensive abilities. I'm surprised my sword did not hurt him. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed as he muttered to himself. Jian Wushuang. Yunzhen finally arrived, entered the golden prison with Jian Wushuang's permission, and appeared next to him. This prison. Yunzhen examined the golden prison around him and was amazed by its power. He speculated it would be hard for him to break out of the prison if trapped within it. Strange Old Feng, you have nowhere to escape. Just hand over the purple shimmer. Otherwise, Jian Wushuang's cold voice echoed in the golden prison. Strange Old Feng replied angrily, Jian Wushuang, there are no grudges between us, but you have ill feelings for the Great Compassion sect and Yunzhen. All you want is the purple shimmer. Both of us should join forces and use your domain to teach Yunzhen a lesson. The purple shimmer will be yours after you help me fight against him. Yunzhen was irritated. I've already said before, the conflicts between me and the Great Compassion sect have been resolved. I will not attack them. I shall take it by force since you are unwilling to hand me the purple shimmer. Lord Yunzhen, let's attack together, said Jian Wushuang. All right. Yunzhen nodded. So what if you both team up? So what if there's this golden prison? You can't kill me even if I'm unable to escape. Strange Old Feng laughed arrogantly. We can't kill you? Really? Jian Wushuang smiled. The moment he finished his sentence, the golden divine powers pressure went down on Strange Old Feng. The prison of punishment was made up of prison and domain. Prison traps the opponent and domain oppresses them while improving the user's powers. The power of one party depletes while the other gains, widening the strength gap. This technique was manifested to its fullest with Jian Wushuang's 1,000 feet golden god shadow. What? Strange Old Feng's figure sank. Although he was an ultimate god expert and had reached peak early stage ultimate god, his power had been reduced rapidly under the golden divine powers pressure. His strength had dropped by nearly 20%. It was an awful percentage of power depletion to him. Go! Jian Wushuang commanded in a low voice and attacked alongside Yunzhen. He had chosen to discharge his 7 stars secret technique's power, and his divine power breath skyrocketed and was approaching the level of the first-class divine demon realm. Boom! Boom! The two experts delivered their shots at the same time. Jian Wushuang's sword skills were perfectly displayed, whereas Yunzhen was being overbearing. His big hands swung out again and again, with each palm print turned into a giant ape, brown bear, tiger, and leopard interchangeably every time he drew his palm. Every palm was derived from extremely powerful and ferocious animals. The combat power of high-level ultimate god was fully displayed by Yunjin. As for Jian Wushuang, he relied fully on the support of elevated powers from the Golden Prison's domain and had soon attained combat powers equal to that of a high-level ultimate god. It barely achieved that level of power as he was still slightly inferior compared to Yunjin. However, he was much stronger than Strange Old Feng, especially when Strange Old Feng's power had been decreased by 20%. It was a complete showdown. Strange Old Feng had no room to repel the attacks and could only rely on his physical protection abilities to resist the attacks. It would not last long and soon he would give way as his body reached the limit. Strange Old Feng had no means to escape while being trapped within the Golden Prison. His life-saving secret technique could not be used either. Strange Old Feng was nervous. Stop. Jian Wushuang, don't you want the purple shimmer anymore? Okay, I'll give it to you. Strange Old Feng screamed as he obviously had no choice but to compromise. Chapter 2499. Killed. Strange Old Feng waved his hand as a hazy purple light was thrown towards Jian Wushuang. The purple light was a grain of purple shimmer with a peculiar aura. Although it was like a grain of sand, it was actually the size of a pea. Purple shimmer. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up, waved his hand, and sent the drop of purple shimmer into his interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang was done collecting all the materials needed to refine his life armor with that. All he needed to do next was to find Master Kuan and ask for his expertise to refine that armor. Jian Wushuang, I've given you the purple shimmer. Can you let me out of this golden prison now? Strange Old Feng called out. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes at Strange Old Feng before immediately shook his head. Sorry, but no. What did you say? Strange Old Feng was startled. If you were someone else, perhaps I will let you go. But you're cruel. You even killed your own disciple. What else can you not do? You gave the purple shimmer to me because you have no other choice, but once you escape, you'll probably retaliate against me. Even if you can't retaliate against me, you will retaliate against my family, and that's troublesome for me. I'll have to kill you then since I've provoked you and not leave such a risk behind. Jian Wushuang wore a ghastly look. Strange Old Feng was cruel, unruly, and despicably. He dared to madly retaliate against the Great Compassionate Sect, what more towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was sure that Strange Old Feng would seek vengeance with him thereafter. Lord Yunjin, well, join forces to kill him, said Jian Wushuang coldly. Sure thing. Yunjin nodded without hesitation. The Great Compassion Sect had wanted to kill Strange Old Feng for a long time but lacked the abilities and chance to do so. How could Yunjin possibly let go of a perfect opportunity that lay in front of him? Kill! Jian Wushuang and Yunjin delivered their shots again. They no longer held back and went in for the kill. Jian Wushuang, you didn't keep your promise. Strange Old Feng was very frightened and kept screaming. Promise? If you choose to give the purple shimmer at the beginning I wouldn't have hurt you, but now, you should just go to hell. Jian Wushuang's killing intent shot up and combined the high-level ultimate god's combat power from both Jian Wushuang and Yunjin. Strange Old Feng could only retreat further and further as his injuries became more and more obvious. Eventually, his body had reached the limit of how much it could resist. Strange Old Feng's body collapsed and his voice completely gone. Finally, he's dead. Yunjin sighed lightly after seeing Strange Old Feng being killed. The Great Compassion Sect has tried to kill him many times, but his life-saving ability is so great that we failed countless times. He's finally dead this time. Thank you, friend Wushuang. Your prison is indeed amazing. Yunjin knew the Golden Prison had greatly contributed to their success in killing Strange Old Feng. Had it not been for the Golden Prison which trapped Strange Old Feng, he would have used his life-saving secret technique to escape. Jian Wushuang also murmured, the life-saving ability of this old monster is indeed strong. Apart from his life-saving secret technique, his Bodhi's defensive abilities were also powerful. Ordinary early-stage ultimate god would have died much earlier under our combined attacks, but he persevered for quite some time. Anyway, he's dead now. Wushuang, my friend, Strange old Feng is dead and you have received the last drop of purple shimmer. The Great Compassion Sect has fulfilled our promise to you. There are still many things to deal with in the Great Compassion Sect. I shall leave first, said Yun Zhen. Thank you, Lord Yun Zhen. Jian Wushuang smiled. Although Jian Wushuang was not sure whether the Great Compassionate Sect still held grudges against him, the two sides had apparently resolved their conflicts. Unless one party decides to fall out, there should be no more fights between them. All the instrument cultivation materials have been collected. They'll go directly to Master Kuan in Luogu territory. Jian Wushuang chuckled and left for Qingshao City, one of Luogu territory's 9 cities. As soon as Jian Wushuang arrived at Qingshao City, he thought of Miss Xiao from Hundred Flowers Tower. After Miss Xiao vanquished the Mu clan, she left Wuxia Wilderness and no one knew where she went. Regardless, there was a verbal alliance between him and Miss Xiao. They might meet in the future. A towering and grandiose mansion floated above the void. It was none other than Master Kun's residence. Jian Wushuang had been there before. He had to use some tactics before being allowed to enter and meet Master Kun. Jian Wushuang went straight into the mansion with an apparition such that the guards did not notice his existence at all. A bald elder in an exquisite room was none other than Master Kun, who wore a black robe and was carefully browsing a jade slip. Suddenly, a light breeze blew and a figure appeared in the center of the room. Who? Master Kun was alerted and raised his head. Master Kun, long time no see. Jian Wushuang folded his hands behind him and smiled. You are. Master Kun looked at Jian Wushuang in a daze. He was unable to recognize Jian Wushuang, although Jian Wushuang looked rather familiar to him. Master Kun, do you remember a chaotic divine demon who came not long ago and asked for help to cultivate a life armor? Jian Wushuang smiled. Life armor? Are you Jian? Master Kun finally figured who Jian Wushuang was. The last time Jian Wushuang visited Master Kun, he was wearing a hat to cover his appearance, hence Master Kun did not recognize him at first glance. It's my pleasure that Master Kun still remembers me. Master Kun, do you remember the agreement we had? These are the instrument cultivation materials which you mentioned. Please help me to cultivate a life armor. Jian Wushuang handed over an interspatial ring. Master Kun took the ring and looked into it only to be shocked. 4 red sun secret essences, 5 red blood fruits, 2 drops of purple shimmer, 100 pieces of spectacular beast scale, and 10,000 pounds of celestial iron oregon. You have managed to gather all of them and in such a short time. Master Kun was flabbergasted. He knew very well how rare those instrument cultivation materials were in Wuxia Wilderness. There were 5 types of materials and each of them was priceless. In addition, they were required in rather large quantities such that even for a top sect such as Narcissus Island, it would be impossible to gather those materials. Master Kun had not considered Jian Wushuang would be able to collect all of those materials. However, Chapter 2500. Cultivate Life Armor. Master Kun, when would you be able to help me cultivate the life armor? Jian Wushuang asked. Master Kun tried calming down and raised his head to meet Jian Wushuang's eyes again. He inferred, if I'm not wrong, your name isn't Jian Yi, but Jian Wushuang, right? Master Kun knows me? Jian Wushuang kept a straight face. You're indeed Master Jian Wushuang. Master Kun was startled and his tone became respectful. Master Jian went to Saint's tomb and vanquished many genius disciples from various sections. Finally, you even single-handedly defeated the 3 supreme elders of the Great Compassion Sect. This news has spread across Wuxia Wilderness. As for how I know it was Master Jian, the conditions and things Master Jian requested from the Great Compassion Sect were made known to the public. The things you have asked for were materials needed to cultivate the life armor. Now that Master Jian has come to me with these materials, it will naturally reveal Master Jian's identity. Is that so? Jian Wushuang thought it was logical. Master Jian, there will be no problem to cultivate a life armor since we now have enough instrument cultivation materials. They'll start making preparations and begin 3 days later, said Master Kun. I shall wait for 3 days then. Jian Wushuang smiled. Master Kun soon left to make preparations. 3 days later, Jian Wushuang came to a huge underground chamber under the guidance of Master Kun. The chamber was located at the bottom of a fire pit which was surrounded by frighteningly high-temperature raging flames. In the center of the chamber was a huge furnace. The aura from the furnace was quite extraordinary. It was obviously a rare treasure. Master Jian, the cultivation process of the life armor is cumbersome. I'm afraid it'll take more than 10 days. As it's my first time cultivating a life armor, so the failure rate may be very high and it'll need a longer time. A lot of materials would be damaged during the process, explained Master Kun. I don't care how long it'll take and how many materials will be damaged. The materials I gave you should be sufficient for a few tries. It's good enough as long as you can guarantee success in cultivating even just one life armor, said Jian Wushuang. Master Kun smiled. Absolutely, there may be leftover materials too. By the way, I wonder if Master Jian has prepared the blood essences? There were 3 main conditions in cultivating a life armor: cultivation materials, a craftmaster, and blood essences from an expert that met the requirements. Didn't you say that the blood essences of the expert must be absolutely strong? Mine should meet the requirements, said Jian Wushuang. Master Kun frowned. Well, Master Jian might not know this, but the cultivator's own blood essences are naturally the best choice, but its power may be influenced by the cultivator's life rating. A cultivator's life rating is usually inferior to the blood essences of powerful beasts or some special race experts. It would be better if Master Jian can prepare blood essences from powerful beasts or special race experts. Of course, it doesn't matter if Master Jian doesn't have any of them. I have some with me and I can use it. Jian Wushuang smiled upon hearing that. Master Kun, I don't need the blood essences of a beast or a special race. Mine is good enough. Jian Wushuang was confident. Life rating? What kind of beasts or special race experts can have a better life rating than myself? What a joke. Who was Jian Wushuang? He was the second perfect chaotic creature in the entire world. His life rating was the best in the world and no one can be compared with his. The 4 great tribes who stood at the top of ancient god domain had excellent life ratings, but they were nothing compared to Jian Wushuang. He was a perfect chaotic creature. Why would he want to use blood essences of a beast or special race? If this is the case, then let's go with it. Chapter 2501, Life Armor Completed. Master Jian, please be ready to feed the life armor some of your blood essences, said Master Kun. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. Soon, Master Kun began his 3rd attempt. This time around, he had perfected the steps and made no mistakes. Another 10 days passed in a blink of an eye. Master Kun, who had been focusing on cultivating the life armor by the furnace, had both his eyes lit up in excitement. The life armor is completed. Jian Wushuang looked over immediately. He could vaguely see a battle armor in the middle of the furnace within the hot liquid lava. The life armor was just taking shape but yet to have its own wisdom. Master Kun then took out the purple shimmer. In his last 2 failures, he had not used the purple shimmer at all. He had only taken the purple shimmer out after the life armor took shape. The purple shimmer was like a finishing touch to the life armor. The life armor seemed to have instantly come to life when Master Kun sent it into the furnace. The life armor gave away a unique aura. This life armor has wisdom now. Master Jian, come here and let it absorb your blood essence, said Master Kun. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and walked towards the furnace. How much blood essences are needed? Jian Wushuang asked. Generally, it takes a lot, but also depends on the blood essences ratings. Take your time, Master Jian. Just put in drop by drop and well judge according to the situation, said Master Kun. Jian Wushuang nodded. He stretched out his index finger and squeezed a drop of blood into the furnace. The blood essence dripped into the furnace and was instantly swallowed by the hot liquid lava, but there were no changes in the furnace. A single drop of blood essence probably won't give rise to any reaction. Master Jian, try dropping a few more drops. Master Kun suggested. Jian Wushuang frowned. The higher the life rating, the harder it was to accumulate and extract their blood essence. It was extremely difficult for people of the ancient race to accumulate and extract their blood essence. Jian Wushuang, being a perfect chaotic creature, would naturally have a hard time accumulating and extracting his blood essence. Try a few more drops? However, he only had a few drops of blood essence. Just when Jian Wushuang was about to squeeze the second drop of blood essence, buzz! The huge furnace suddenly shook and the hot liquid lava in the furnace began boiling wildly and surged around violently. What's going on here? Master Kuan was taken aback as he did not know what had happened. Right then, a strong golden ray of light lit up. Master Jian, step backward. Master Kuan screamed and immediately retreated. Jian Wushuang retreated a few steps. At the same time when he retreated, the huge furnace spar burst open as hot liquid lava flew out madly in all directions. Jian Wushuang's divine powers erupted and formed a barrier in front of him to block the hot liquid lava on the other side. Explosion! How could it possibly explode? The life armor had already taken form. Master Kuan, who was next to Jian Wushuang, was talking loudly. No. Master Kun's eyes glistened again because he saw the golden light floating at the chamber top. The golden light was extremely bright, and within the rays of golden light was a completed life armor. The life armor was neither damaged nor exploded. Nonetheless, the furnace had indeed blown up. Besides, the aura of this armor is so strong. Master Kuan stared hard at the life armor basking in the golden light. He could feel the aura emanated from the life armor was very powerful. Its aura was much stronger than many natural treasures. Even the top-notch natural treasures had a subservient aura toward it. It has become an extraordinary natural treasure, has it not? Master Kuan was startled. Master Kuan, what should I do next? Do I continue squeezing blood? Jian Wushuang asked. Blood essence? Master Kuan seemed to have understood something but still had doubts in his heart as he stared at the life armor for a while and said, try another drop. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and immediately squeezed another drop of blood essence, sending it towards the life armor. The life armor instantly swallowed the drop of blood essence. Boom! The life armor was already extremely powerful and had a much stronger aura than any natural treasure, yet its aura skyrocketed again by several folds more than before. The life armor gave off an aura that countless experts would covet and at the same time was shining with a colorful glow. Even though the chamber was located underground, it failed to stop the widespread aura and colorful glow. In an instant, there were colorful clouds illuminating heaven and earth in the void above the chamber. The aura of a precious treasure permeated for thousands of miles. Colorful clouds? This sort of colorful clouds only appears when a heavenly treasure is born. Is this an anomaly of heaven and earth? How is this possible? Master Kuan was completely stunned. He could not even believe he made the life armor. It was a heavenly treasure. A heavenly treasure that was highly sought after by any ultimate god expert was successfully cultivated. Most importantly, he had cultivated that life armor. What's a life armor? It was something closely related to the cultivator and was a progressing treasure. Its powers increased simultaneously with the strength of its cultivator. Under normal circumstances, any newly cultivated life armor or life divine weapon would be at the ordinary power. Its power was seldom able to match ordinary earth treasures. However, the life armor he cultivated was at the level of a heavenly treasure. What just happened? It's like two cultivators. One was just an ordinary man when he was born, while the other was a chaotic divine demon upon birth. How were they even comparable? A life armor that attained the level of a heavenly treasure right after it was successfully cultivated would have an extremely bright future. Its powers would grow along with the power of its master and might even become a legendary premier treasure. Premier treasures only existed in the legend. Master Kuan had only seen it in ancient books. He still could not believe that he had made a precious life armor that could potentially be a premier treasure one day. How did this happen? Master Kun's eyes were glistening as he looked at Jian Wushuang. Was it because of Master Jian's blood essence? Yes, it must be Master Jian's blood essence. Master Kuan concluded. He knew fully well that based on his cultivation skill and those instrument cultivation materials, the life armor would not have reached the level of an earth treasure under normal circumstances. Hence, it must be the 2 drops of blood essence which Jian Wushuang inserted that upgraded it to be a heavenly treasure. Chapter 2502, Golden Glaze Life Armor. This life armor is able to reach the heavenly treasure level with just 2 drops of blood essence. What kind of blood essence is that? Master Kuan was astonished. Jian Wushuang, who was standing beside, had also felt the aura emanating from the life armor. A wide smile appeared on his face. Judging from the aura, this must be really powerful. Master Kuan, should I continue dripping blood essence into it? Jian Wushuang asked. Master Kuan was startled. He took a serious look at the battle armor and then shook his head. No, Master Jian. Your blood essences are extraordinary. Merely 2 drops of your blood essence have pushed this life armor to its endurance limit. Another drop of blood essence might immediately destroy it. Jian Wushuang nodded and stopped putting in more of his blood essence. Master Kun's eyes flashed as he waved his big hand and sent several palm prints in the direction of the life armor. It's done. After he solemnly announced the end of the cultivation, the golden light finally dissipated. The life armor, which was enveloped by the golden light, descended from floating in the void. Without any guidance, it floated towards Jian Wushuang. It was Jian Wushuang who fed it his own blood essence after all. It had become a heavenly treasure with unlimited potential. The life armor certainly knew who its owner was. After Jian Wushuang tried the life armor on, the armor immediately bonded with him. Oh, this little guy is still acting like a baby to me. Jian Wushuang smiled at it with great interest after he had established a connection with the spirit of the armor. Master Jian, the armor is done but it hasn't got a name. Why don't you think of a name? Master Kuan suggested. Name. Jian Wushuang gently stroked the armor in front of him. The armor was golden in color with its extremely smooth surface which exuded a faint metallic luster, like a shimmering phantom. Let's call it golden glazed life armor. Jian Wushuang smiled. The armor responded happily to its name with a slight quiver. Using his mind to control, the golden glazed life armor immediately turned into golden light which covered Jian Wushuang's body. In an instant, Jian Wushuang's whole body was completely covered by the armor. It was very delicate, beautiful, and fitted seamlessly on Jian Wushuang's perfect figure. Jian Wushuang stood majestically like a golden god of war. Jian Wushuang then started moving around and the golden battle armor covering his body immediately transformed into an exquisite golden robe. Not bad. Jian Wushuang laughed, obviously very satisfied with the golden glazed life armor. Not only was he satisfied, but he could also feel the armor's power. The golden glazed life armor at the heavenly treasure level had terrifying physical protection capability. Jian Wushuang did not have time to cultivate the 9 sparkle star armor, hence his overall strength would increase significantly after he did so and the golden glazed life armor's prowess would then be fully displayed. Oh yes, Jian Wushuang was reminded of something. Master Kuan, I have a life divine weapon with me. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and took out his blood mountain sword. This weapon has been with me for many years, but it didn't absorb my blood essence when it was being cultivated. I have also not been able to feed it with my own blood essence. I wonder if you can temper it again and figure out a way for it to absorb my blood essence? Jian Wushuang asked. Jian Wushuang could feel the blood mountain sword's excitement in his hand as he spoke. Blood mountain sword was his closest comrade. It had been with him since his last life till the current. In his last life, Jian Wushuang's life rating was only average. He was able to occasionally feed the sword with his blood essence. In his current life, the blood mountain sword was no longer able to absorb his blood essence after he became a perfect chaotic creature. Master Kuan was quite surprised. This is your life weapon but it hasn't absorbed your blood essence before? Show me the sword. Jian Wushuang handed the blood mountain sword to Master Kuan. Master Kuan cautiously took over and brushed his fingers along the blade. He went wide-eyed. Good sword it's perfect. This sword, regardless it's the external look or internal structure, was done perfectly in every cultivation step without any flaws. This is my first time seeing such a perfect weapon. Master Kun's heart skipped a beat. In the cultivation process of a weapon, subtle errors such as heat, the quantity of materials used, and so on were inevitable no matter how careful the craftmaster was. However, those minute errors gave no impact on Jian Wushuang. There were craftmasters with extraordinary abilities that enabled them to cultivate divine weapons without a single error. Those types of craftmasters only existed in legends and were at least 7th grade or even 8th grade craftmasters. For a 4th grade craftmaster such as Master Kuan, this perfect weapon was a myth. Who's that? Master Jian Wushuang, who's the craftmaster who cultivated this weapon? Master Kuan asked in an electrified tone. Master Kuan, you don't have to know who made it. You only have to tell me whether you are able to help me, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Master Kuan pondered for a moment before answering seriously. I've never seen the materials used to make this sword, but there might be a possibility to recultivate it and feed your blood essence to it. The bad news is that a 4th grade craftmaster like myself is unable to do so. Master Kuan helplessly smiled. A 4th grade craftmaster was the top craftmaster in the Wuxia wilderness, but in the entire ancient god domain, 4th grade meant nothing. There were craftmasters who were much stronger. Master Kuan was unable to fulfill Jian Wushuang's request. Is that so? Which grades of craftmasters are needed to meet my requirements? Jian Wushuang asked. At least a 7th grade craftmaster, but the craftmaster at the peak of 7th grade might still fail, hence an 8th grade craftmaster might stand a much better chance of success, said Master Kuan. Peak of 7th grade or an 8th grade craftmaster? Jian Wushuang was shocked to find out. In a small place like Wuxia Wilderness, it was difficult to even find a 4th grade craftmaster. Jian Wushuang found Master Kuan after much effort. Someone at the peak of 7th grade and the 8th grade was still too far-fetched for Jian Wushuang. You heard that, little guy? You'll have to wait for a little while longer to absorb my blood essence. Jian Wushuang helplessly stroked the blood mountain sword. As soon as the technique was executed, Emperor Bei's strength instantly skyrocketed. Moreover, the environment of the eternal chaos world was bad. Emperor Bai had gone through a lot of erroneous variants and extremes before finally managed to cultivate the secret technique. However, he was unable to fully manifest the power of this secret technique. During the ancient god domain period of time, Jian Wushuang had a chance to display the secret technique in its complete form. It was a pity if one would like to cultivate such a secret technique, one must have a life armor connected to one's body and blood. Jian Wushuang did not have the golden glazed life armor previously. Even if he had the cultivation method of the secret technique, he could only look at it but not use it. There were a total of 6 chapters in 9 Sparkle Stars Armor Secret Technique, with each representing 6 different levels. The chapters consisted of the Black Armor, Golden Armor, Precious Armor, Heavenly Armor, Stars Armor, and the highest level of all, Ultimate Armor. Emperor Bai first cultivated Golden Armor, which was the secret technique's 2nd level. Jian Wushuang had now begun looking into the 1st level, which was the Black Armor chapter. With his life armor and Jian Wushuang's astuteness, he was able to easily cultivate the Black Armor chapter. Inside the chamber, Jian Wushuang's body quivered as a streamer of black light appeared outside of the armor he was wearing. The black light which completely covered Jian Wushuang's body like battle armor was extremely adamant. Jian Wushuang seriously murmured, I have the golden glazed life armor on me. I now have an extra layer of physical protection ability with the black armor and golden life armor integration, but 9 Sparkle Stars Armor Secret Technique shouldn't be so simple. Jian Wushuang summoned his Blood Mountain sword and thrust it forward. With that simple move, he clearly sensed the power of his sword light was affected by the black surface on his body. The power of his sword light had increased exponentially. The sword light cut onto the void, causing the void in the chamber to quake. The power of my sword has doubled. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. 9 Sparkle Stars Armor was a secret technique that integrated both attack and defense. The defense mechanism complemented the life armor by strengthening the life armor's protective capabilities and formed an extra body protective barrier at the same time. Whereas the attack mechanism was a result of the star-guided attack mechanism derived from the secret technique. It amplified the powers of any attack performed by Jian Wushuang. In the Black Armor chapter alone, he was able to double up the power of his various attacks. The second level, which was the gold armor of the 9 Sparkle Stars armor secret technique, supposedly boosted his power by 3 folds. The third level, treasure armor, boosted it by 6 times stronger. The fourth level was 9 times stronger, and it went on and on with the remaining levels. If he was fortunate enough to cultivate the final 6th level, Ultimate Armor chapter, his power would then be increased by 15 times under the Ultimate Armor's guidance. That was the 9 Sparkle Stars armor, one of the 5 most powerful secret techniques of the 7 Stars Black Sect. It's terrifyingly powerful. The 9 Sparkle Stars armor is terrifying indeed. No wonder it's as famous as the 7 Stars secret technique and Divine God of Punishment. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He had also cultivated another secret technique that integrated both attack and defense mechanisms, the Primordial Void Celestial Body. Not only does the Primordial Void Celestial Body increase one's Divine Bodhi strength, but also one's Divine Power strength. However, one that simply increased the Divine Power strength was incomparable with the other, which greatly increased attacking power. Chapter 2504. An important guest. The second form of the Primordial Void Celestial Body, which merely increased Jian Wushuang's divine powers by 3 folds, did not help much in increasing his attack powers. It was because he had to convert the divine powers into the attack powers before manifesting it. Such power conversion reduced the power's efficacy and finally resulted in only about 30 to 40% of an increase in Jian Wushuang's overall strength. As for 9 Sparkle Stars armor, the star-guided attack mechanism directly intensified the attack power which Jian Wushuang manifested. His overall strength was doubled up, hence the 2 techniques were incomparable. The black armor alone has doubled up my overall strength. I can try to cultivate the gold armor with my current realm level. Jian Wushuang was electrified. He began to sit cross-legged and continued meditating upon the gold armor chapter. Time flew and half a month passed in a flash. Jian Wushuang was still sitting in the chamber when suddenly a layer of bright golden light appeared on the surface of his divine body. The golden light was like a gold armor covering his entire body. Jian Wushuang had his eyes closed while his blood mountain sword quivered in his hand. A bloody sword shadow intent swept across the entire area and instantly filled the chamber with an ocean of sword intent. A shrill sound resonated across the chamber. "It's done!" Jian Wushuang opened his eyes. He could not contain his excitement, which was shown through his shining bright eyes. The gold armor chapter has been cultivated. My attack power has increased by 3 times from the gold armor's guidance, which means that my overall strength has also increased by 3-fold, Jian Wushuang murmured. Tripling his overall strength was undoubtedly a huge improvement. Before Jian Wushuang cultivated the 9 Sparkle Stars armor secret technique, his combat prowess had already surpassed the early stages of Divine Demon. His combat prowess was close to a high-level Ultimate God, but still not enough for him to engage in a duel with Yunzhen. With his overall strength increased by 3 times, Jian Wushuang would be able to fight against Yunzhen. Although it was still uncertain if he could defeat Yunzhen, he knew he was sufficiently strong to be a threat toward Yunzhen. On the other hand, there was absolutely no hope for Yunzhen to defeat Jian Wushuang. The only reason why Jian Wushuang was not absolutely certain over winning Yunzhen was that Yunzhen might hold a trump card. If nothing was hidden, Jian Wushuang was confident he could defeat Yunzhen in a duel based on Yunzhen's combat prowess at the time they besieged and killed Strange Old Phone. It's a pity I'm only in the Divine Demon realm. The highest level I can cultivate the 9 Sparkle Stars armor is at the Gold Armor chapter. If I can proceed to the 3rd level, which is the previous armor chapter, not will it improve my overall strength, but upon full achievement, I'll be able to manifest the special techniques in 9 Sparkle Stars armor, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Some powerful secret techniques were accompanied by special action techniques. For instance, the Divine God of Punishment had 2 special action techniques, Prison of Punishment and Extermination of Criminals. Both were killer moves. The 9 Sparkle Stars armor also had special techniques, but its threshold was higher. Only after cultivating the treasure armor chapter could one its first special technique, the star armor domain. The star armor domain was initiated by the star armor itself. Not only was the domain power extremely terrifying, but also had no conflicts against any other domain methods. Jian Wushuang imagined the day when he crossed over to the ultimate god realm, achieved a breakthrough in his swordsmanship, and gained control over a sword world. He will first subdue his opponent with the sword world before applying both Prison of Punishment and Star Armor domain on his opponent. That action would be equivalent to 3 great domain techniques superimposed on his opponent. How strong would its effect be? Unfortunately, he was still very far from his aspirations. Anyway, my life-saving ability has improved greatly with the 9 Sparkle Star Armor secret technique. My overall strength has also increased by 3-folds. It's a great overall achievement. At least my efforts to source for instrument cultivation materials to make the life armor didn't go to waste. Jian Wushuang smiled, feeling pleased. He was happy to have cultivated the gold armor chapter. His happiness did not last long. Shuang'e. His father in his current life, Zhui Yunfeng, sent him a message. "Father, what's the matter?" Jian Wushuang answered while trying to suppress his joy. "Shuang'e, please come back quickly if you are free now. We have a special guest at home," said Zhui Yunfeng. Special guest? Jian Wushuang was startled. Jian Wushuang had proven his extraordinary strength, to which elevated his status. He was no longer inferior to many people and even the lords of many sections. Zhui Yunfeng was fully aware of that. Under such circumstances, who could possibly be considered as a special guest to him? "Father, who's the guest?" Jian Wushuang asked curiously. "It's Taoist Xian Shen." Zhui Yunfeng answered solemnly. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. "Taoist Xian Shen? The one who arrived at Blazing Moon City after I was born and gave me the name Jian Wushuang upon careful calculation of my birth date?" For Jian Wushuang, Taoist Xian Shen was the only person in Wuxia Wilderness which Jian Wushuang was curious and envious of. However, Jian Wushuang did not see Taoist Xian Shen as his enemy. Taoist Xian Shen showed up once when I was born and gave me my name before disappearing. I have never heard from him all these years, and he miraculously appears again at this point in time. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. "Father, do you know why Taoist Xian Shen visited?" Jian Wushuang asked. "I don't know, but he's here for you. After arriving at our mansion, he bluntly said he wanted to see you and told me to send you a message," replied Zhui Yunfeng. "I got it, father. Please ask Taoist Xian Shen to stay for a while. He'll be back soon," said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang dared not neglect the mysterious and unpredictable Taoist Xian Shen. He thought the Taoist might even know everything. After Jian Wushuang got the news, he rushed home as quickly as possible. Not long after, Jian Wushuang had returned to the governor's mansion in the Blazing Moon City. In a large greeting hall, Zhui Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin were seated there with a few servants standing right behind them. As for Zhuo Bing and Zhuo Peng, they had returned to their respective sects long ago. Beside the hall was a barefooted old man in a plain green robe with white hair and a beard. His eyes were squinted while sitting there waiting. On a chair beside the barefooted old man was a piece of canvas with the characters, "Psychic and Fortune-Telling." "Is he Taoist Xian Shen?" Jian Wushuang walked into the hall, saw the barefooted old man at first glance, and was rather amazed. Looking at the barefooted old man, Jian Wushuang was fascinated as he was unable to read that old man at all. Just as Jian Wushuang had thought, the barefooted old man was unpredictable like an infinite ocean. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and headed towards the old man. Chapter 2505, Xian Shen's Advice 1. Junior Jian Wushuang greets Taoist Master Xian Shen. Jian Wushuang bowed very humbly. There was almost no one qualified to be greeted in such a way by Jian Wushuang throughout Wuxia Wilderness. However, Taoist Xian Shen before him was undoubtedly qualified to accept such politeness. The barefooted old gentleman who sat on the chair gradually opened his eyes and looked at Zhui Yunfeng. "Governor Zhua, would you mind if I have a word with the kid?" "As you wish, Taoist master." Zhui Yunfeng and his wife immediately stood up and exited the hall with their servants. Shortly after, only Jian Wushuang and Taoist Xian Shun were left in the main hall. Taoist Xian Shun casually waved his hand and manifested a layer of restrictive barrier around the main hall to prevent others from hearing their conversation. "Kid, I know about you." Taoist Xian Shun gazed at Jian Wushuang calmly with his eyes like a clear pool of water, as though he had completely seen through Jian Wushuang. "You know me?" Jian Wushuang was perplexed. Taoist Xian Shun said, "I know everything about you, which includes your past, present, and future life, sir." Jian Wushuang was startled and about to inquire. Taoist Xian Shun waved his hand and stopped him from talking. "I know you have a lot of questions, but there are some matters you better off be ignorant about. The reason I'm here to see you now is to give you advice on certain matters." Jian Wushuang focused and listened. "One, you and I are on the same side in camp, you shouldn't doubt this. The reason is that I come from the 7 Stars Black Sect and your master Xian Yi has a very close relationship with me," said Taoist Xian Shun. Jian Wushuang nodded, as there was nothing to doubt about what Taoist Xian Shun just said. He had guessed earlier on that even if Taoist Xian Shun was not from 7 Star Black Sect, he was at least on his side. The reason being he knew about everything, such as Jian Wushuang's birthplace in his next reincarnation life, and even visited on the day he was born to name him Jian Wushuang. The reincarnation passage was a deep mystery that even the will of Heavenly Wei did not know where he would be born. However, Taoist Xian Shun knew about it. Obviously, the only logical explanation was Xian Yi, who personally sent Jian Wushuang into the reincarnation passage, had told Xian Shun about it. That alone was enough to prove Taoist Xian Shun and Xian Yi were on the same side and shared deep relations. Jian Wushuang had even guessed the Taoist Xian Shun in front of him could be Lord of 7 Stars Black Sect. 7 Stars Black Sect had 3 supreme figures during their peak. Xian Yu, Lord of 7 Stars Black Sect, Xian Yan, Lord of Divine Punishment Palace, and Xian Ying, the most unique person in the 7 Stars Black Sect and also Jian Wushuang's master. Among the 3 of them, Xian Yi's cultivation level was undetermined, while both Xian Yu and Xian Yan were realm lords. During the Great War, 7 Stars Black Sect was toppled, but quite a number of their highest-level experts had survived. Perhaps, Lord of 7 Stars Black Sect was also still alive. However, that was naturally Jian Wushuang's speculation. Whether Taoist Xian Shun before him was really Lord of 7 Stars Black Sect was something he could not be certain about and naturally would not dare to ask. Taoist Xian Shun continued, "Secondly, it's about you being a perfect chaotic creature. A perfect chaotic creature is a creature second to none in the heavens and earth. A long time ago, your master Xian Yi was the first perfect chaotic creature to ever exist in the world. After he died, his remaining consciousness has spent tremendous effort and sacrifice until the last bit of his consciousness has completely evaporated just to make you who you are today. However, a perfect chaotic creature isn't acceptable by Heavenly Wei. The will of Heavenly Wei would use every method possible to destroy you so that the balance of Heavenly Wei could be maintained. You have probably sensed this." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and said, "Then, I've heard about it. When I made a breakthrough to the divine demon realm in Saint's Tomb and metamorphosed into a perfect chaotic creature, the world outside underwent radical changes. Furthermore, the energy of the will of Heavenly Wei was concentrating, but for whatever reason, it evaporated before it could be fully formed. The will of Heavenly Wei would not disappear for no reason. It vanished because I did it," said Taoist Xian Shun. "You drove it away?" Jian Wushuang was shocked. The energy from the will of Heavenly Wei represented both the Heavenly Wei and cycle of heaven. In order to drive the energy away, Taoist Xian Shun's abilities must be. Taoist Xian Shun smiled faintly. "Don't feel too shocked. Although its energy is strong, it isn't as terrifying as you have imagined. The will of Heavenly Wei is constantly in control of the ancient God domain, and there are many rules of heaven that it couldn't defy by itself after all. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Moreover, Wusha Wilderness is located beyond the 3rd heaven. It can be considered as the outermost edge of the ancient God domain, a place where the will of Heavenly Wei was the weakest. The will of heavenly way which concentrated and formed here is thin and weak. It's really not that strong. It was easy for Taoist Xianxin to say, but Jian Wushuang would still not take it lightly. That was the will of heavenly way. Even with various restrictions and his current location, which was where it was the weakest, its energy could probably still be insanely powerful when concentrated and formed. Under the will of heavenly way's threat, an undying saint was probably only as powerful as an ant. In order to drive the will of heavenly way away, one had to have powers of at least higher than an undying saint or even that of a realm lord. The Taoist Xianxin before him was most probably a realm lord. Jian Wushuang, even though the will of heavenly way's energy has been driven away by me when it formed, the will of heavenly way has already noticed your existence. Luckily, I've fooled the divine intelligence on time. Although it realizes the second perfect chaotic creature has been born between heaven and earth, it doesn't know where you are, so it's impossible for it to harm you again. Of course, if you trigger a huge event once again, the will of heavenly way could probably track you down, said Taoist Xianxin. Trigger a huge event? What huge event could catch the will of heavenly way's attention? Is it to get incredibly famous in ancient god domain or something? Jian Wushuang asked. No, regardless how famous you become in ancient god domain doesn't affect the cycle of heaven, hence the will of heavenly way wouldn't pay attention to you. What I mean by huge event are you utilizing the tactics and abilities unique to a perfect chaotic creature. For example, that perfect life rating pressure which you unleashed. Taoist Xianxin said. Jian Wushuang was slightly stunned. Taoist Xianxin even knew about the life rating pressure. He obviously had a deep knowledge of perfect chaotic creatures. One could even say he knew everything about it. Jian Wushuang, you definitely have to master the perfect life rating pressure after you become a perfect chaotic creature. Try oppressing me with it, said Taoist Xianxin. He truly had too much burden. Furthermore, he had way too many enemies. Other than will of heavenly way, there were still the lords of the 3 divine realms and 3 sacred realms. In addition to that were the 4 god tribes, 8 heavenly sects. In such situations, he could not afford to take even a single wrong step. As Taoist Xianxin said, he would lose the whole chess game from being careless. If he took just one wrong move, it would send himself, eternal chaotic world, and 7 stars black sect to eternal damnation. Pious. I also bring this small thing that I refined for you, said Taoist Xianxin. He flipped his hand and presented a piece of black stone. The black stone looked very normal, just like any regular stone. Senior, this black stone is... Jian Wushuang perplexedly stared at the black stone. This is just a normal black-colored stone which I randomly picked up from the ground. However, I've refined it such that I've imposed a layer of magic matrix on it which will change your divine power aura, said Taoist Xianxin. Changing my divine power aura? Jian Wushuang asked. After absorbing this black stone, as long as you're below the undying saint realm, your divine power aura would be raised by 2 levels under the magic matrix influence. For example, you're currently at the level of the 2nd-class divine demon realm. After absorbing the black stone, the divine power aura which you project would be 2 levels higher than your actual, showing that of a peak divine demon. Of course, only the divine power aura will change, but your actual ability will not. Taoist Xianxin smiled. The way Taoist Xianxin explained was very casual, however, Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining with excitement. Raising the divine power aura that he projected was incredibly useful to Jian Wushuang. The reason being that he was only a 2nd-class divine demon, but his battle strength was close to a high-level ultimate god. It was quite extraordinary with such terrifying level-skipping capability. If he was battling in front of many people, displaying this terrifying ability to skip levels would shock everyone, as that was beyond their understanding. They would not even be able to describe him with words like demon or monster. Such a situation would be too obvious and defying nature, hence it would end up catching too much attention. In short, it was too obvious. Now that he had the black stone, his divine power aura could reach the level of peak divine demon. If he defeated a primary level ultimate god in public, he would still cause a stir, but at least it was somewhat an acceptable phenomenon. Even though it was extremely rare to find a divine demon who could defeat an ultimate god, it was still possible to find one from the huge number of talented people in the ancient god domain. It could be considered as a coincidental discovery. However, a second-class divine demon defeating a primary-level ultimate god was a non-existent occurrence in the ancient god domain. Naturally, nobody would comprehend it. If that were to occur in Wuxia Wilderness where the various sects had not seen much of the world, they would only feel incredibly stunned. However, if true experts witnessed something of that sort, they would immediately realize Jian Wushuang held a big secret and that would bring him endless troubles. Hence, the black stone was of utmost importance to him. Chapter 2507, Thunderous Star Beast. Thank you, Senior. Jian Wushuang accepted the black stone and refined it on the spot. After that, he began driving his divine powers. As expected, his divine power aura had reached the level of peak divine demon. With help from the black stone, even if I defeat an ultimate god in public, it wouldn't seem so unbelievable anymore. Jian Wushuang smiled. Oh yes, since you have been staying in Wuxia Wilderness, you probably knew about Miss Xiao who annihilated the Mu clan? Miss Xiao? That little lass? Taoist Xianshen smiled slightly and said, You don't have to worry about that lass. She's a friend, not an enemy. Jian Wushuang understood. All right, I've given you the necessary advice plus the black stone. They'll make a move now. Taoist Xianshen stood up and once again held the fortune-telling canvas banner in his hand. Kid, keep up with your cultivation and keep on living. If you've made it to the pinnacle, you and I will then have an opportunity to meet again. Otherwise, there's no point in meeting again. Upon finishing his words, Taoist Xianshen immediately floated outward. Farewell, sir. Jian Wushuang appeared to be incredibly humble. Taoist Xianshen vanished in the blink of an eye. Zhui Yunfeng and Luo Xinxin returned to the main hall. Shuang-a-one, what did Taoist Xianshen tell you? Zhui Yunfeng asked. Nothing, he's just giving me some advice about things I should watch out for on my cultivation path from now on. Jian Wushuang laughed. Zhui Yunfeng did not ask further. Father, Mother, I've decided to leave Wuxia Wilderness in a few days, said Jian Wushuang directly. Zhui Yunfeng and Luo Xinxin looked at each other and smiled wryly. They had predicted Jian Wushuang would decide to do that. In fact, they were not the only ones who predicted so, all the sects in Wuxia Wilderness did so as well. Jian Wushuang, the only super freak in ancient god domain, would absolutely not stay in a tiny pond like Wuxia Wilderness. Zhui Yunfeng and Luo Xinxin were both prepared for this. 5 days later, Jian Wushuang had made necessary arrangements for his affairs in Wuxia Wilderness. The Great Compassion sect had already sent experts over to secretly protect his parents. Jian Wushuang left immediately after that. His departure did not cause any stir, as there were not many who knew him. Other than his parents, his big sister, and brother, he only informed Yunzhen and Wu Jian through a message. In his message to Yunzhen, he reminded the Great Compassion sect to keep their promises of keeping his parents safe. As for the message to Wu Jian, it was purely words of friendship. A month later, Jian Wushuang had left Wuxia Wilderness and arrived at another wilderness. In a wide void where the weather was sunny, Jian Wushuang was clad in a golden robe with his long sword on his back and slowly walking. Suddenly, in the void not too far ahead, lightning tore through the sky and vanished from Jian Wushuang's sight in the blink of an eye. That's truly fast. It's close to the speed of an ultimate god unleashing his full power. Perhaps that flash of lightning was probably a flying wild beast, said Jian Wushuang to himself. In ancient god domain, other than human cultivators, there existed many kinds of wild beasts, spectacular beasts, mystic beasts, and ferocious beasts. Among them, wild beasts were the most mild-mannered ones. There were also many wild beasts that could move incredibly fast, hence certain powerful parties domesticated wild beasts to sell them to cultivators from all over. The cultivators would ride on wild beasts for their travels. Ancient god domain was not located in the dark void like the eternal chaotic world after all. People could make flying ships that were unaffected by space-time obstructions and move without fear in the eternal chaotic world. However, The ancient god domain was covered with vast lands, making flying ships practically useless to move across lands. It's quite far for me to go to the continent of Northern Darkstar from Wuxia Wilderness. Going on foot will only be a waste of time, not to mention energy. I should probably think about purchasing a flying wild beast to ease my journey, said Jian Wushuang to himself. Northern Darkstar continent was the center of Northern Darkstar territory. It was the most bustling place in Northern Darkstar territory and also the highest concentration of experts in the whole territory. The Lord of Northern Darkstar territory also permanently stayed in the Northern Darkstar continent. Jian Wushuang had departed from Wuxia Wilderness and made the Northern Darkstar continent his first destination. I should go explore the surrounding cities, seek out places which sell wild beasts, and purchase one. Jian Wushuang decided. 2 days later, Jian Wushuang found a shop that specialized in selling wild beasts in one of the surrounding cities. Inside the shop, looks like you need a flying wild beast for your journey? The shopkeeper stood next to Jian Wushuang and smiled. Yes, what's your recommendation? Jian Wushuang asked. We have every kind of wild beast, but if you're looking for a flying type purely for your journey, the best choice would naturally be Thunderous Star Beast. It's very fast and possesses very strong legs. It can fly non-stop for a month or 2 without rest. The only issue is it's more on the expensive side, said the shopkeeper. Don't worry about the price. Tell me more about the Thunderous Star Beast's speed, said Jian Wushuang. There are 3 kinds of Thunderous Star Beasts: single horn, double horn, and triple horn. A single horn Thunderous Star Beast's fastest speed is comparable to an ultimate god expert's ultimate speed, or perhaps even slightly faster. The price is 1,000 drops of ancient god divine power. Double horn Thunderous Star Beast moves at 10 times the speed of an ultimate god, with its price being 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. The highest rank was the triple horn Thunderous Star Beast, which can move 100 times faster than an ultimate god, and it's even more expensive of course, and starts from 100,000 drops of ancient god divine power. We have all 3 types of Thunderous Star Beast. Which one would you like? The shopkeeper's introduction was very detailed. If my guess is right, the Thunderous Star Beast's speed is not that consistent. Am I right? Jian Wushuang asked. Why, of course, if the Thunderous Star Beast could unleash that speed in any environment, then its price would be much higher. Thunderous Star Beast and most of the other wild beasts only have one shortcoming: they are very cowardly. It wouldn't be a problem during normal circumstances. However, if you want to rely on the Thunderous Star Beast to escape during a battle, that would be absolutely impossible, as when the aura of a slightly stronger divine demon pushes in, it was enough to make a Thunderous Star Beast freeze, said the shopkeeper. Really? Jian Wushuang understood and soon made a decision. Give me a double-horn Thunderous Star Beast then. A double-horn Thunderous Star Beast's speed was 10 times faster than an ultimate god, making it already extremely fast. Jian Wushuang did not need anything faster than that. Please give me a few moments. The shopkeeper got excited and went to prepare. Chapter 2508. The escort team. Jian Wushuang soon went up to the double-horned Thunderous Star Beast's back and continued his journey. The beast was rather huge, as it was over 3 meters tall. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on its back. With a flip of his palm, an ancient and mysterious scroll appeared in his palm. Fengtan Scroll. He never had a chance to quiet down and study it in detail since Jian Wushuang accepted the Fengtian Scroll from Crimson Stone Saint. Now that the Thunderous Star Beast would carry him for the remaining journey, he could finally focus his efforts on studying it. It was also the reason he deliberately bought a double-horned Thunderous Star Beast. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes while blending his senses into Fengtian Scroll. He began researching his sword principles, space-time, and transmigration laws based on the universe's mysteries hidden in Fengtian Scroll. Following the rise of his understanding, Jian Wushuang soon discovered that his understanding for the first time through Fengtian Scroll while in Saint's Tomb was the most effective one, and the consecutive effects were a lot less than before. However, it was still faster than trying to achieve solely with his own abilities. Time flew by. Another 3 months had passed. Jian Wushuang had traveled across 10 wildernesses with the double-horned thunderous star beast charging ahead at full speed throughout the 3 months. At the same time, he had achieved quite a bit of improvement with the assistance of Feng Tian Scroll. He had improved a great deal in terms of sword principles, but the most crucial improvement was his further realization of laws. For instance, he could only form 2 apparitions at the same time before that using space-time law, but he could now form a total of 6, for more than before. For many experts who studied space-time law, it was extremely difficult to achieve this within a few decades or even a century. However, relying on his own intelligence and the Feng Tian Scroll's assistance, Jian Wushuang had achieved such in merely 3 months. Jian Wushuang held a piece of jade slip while checking the direction ahead before mumbling to himself. Following this direction, the Dark Thunder territory should be up ahead. Dark Thunder territory is a place I must cross to reach the northern Darkstar continent. It's also the most dangerous area throughout the entire journey. This territory is huge and borderless with countless thievery and killings everywhere. They were everywhere regardless of the eternal chaotic world of his past life or the ancient god domain in this current. The only difference was those thieves in ancient god domain were a lot more powerful and systematic. Despite addressing them as thieves, they were actually the regional political regimes. For example, there were countless thieves residing in Dark Thunder territory and had organized their own political powers with each occupying a mountain. Among them, the 18 prefectures were the most powerful. The 18 prefectures had been deeply rooted in Dark Thunder territory for a very long time, with its total powers no weaker than some dominating sects in certain wildernesses. In fact, they might probably be stronger. As the number 1 dominant sect of Wuxia Wilderness, the Great Compassion sect's strongest battle strength constituted only 1 high-level and 3 low-level ultimate gods. However, any of the prefectures in the Dark Thunder territory's 18 prefectures would possess a few ultimate gods. There were also many high-level ultimate gods among them. On usual days, the 18 prefectures would go about their regular businesses without much friendliness. They would sometimes even fight with each other to protect their respective interests. However, all 18 prefectures would work together whenever a crisis occurred, and their collective power formed was something to be feared. It was because of such that even though the 18 prefectures constantly robbed and took over various parts of Dark Thunder territory, nobody could do anything against them. Even the most powerful clan in the northern Darkstar continent would not simply take action against the 18 prefectures. In reality, the only person who was capable enough and dared to destroy the 18 prefectures throughout the Wuxia Wilderness was perhaps the mighty territorial lord himself. Unfortunately, the 18 prefectures never offended the territorial lord, and the territorial lord also had no intentions of wasting his time on them. There are too many thieves in Dark Thunder territory. I can't imagine how much trouble would come my way if I entered with my double-horned thunderous star beast. I'd better find a strong escort team to go with me, murmured Jian Wushuang to himself. He immediately began searching on the outer rim of Dark Thunder territory and soon found a place where cultivators gathered. At the gathering spot, a huge number of cultivators were present, and just like Jian Wushuang, all of them wanted to cross Dark Thunder territory. Every pair of eyes immediately looked over at Jian Wushuang when he appeared at the gathering spot with his double-horned thunderous star beast. Double-horned thunderous star beast? Thunderous star beasts have always been the best wild beasts to travel with and the most expensive one as well. The double-horned thunderous star beast probably costs 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. It's a lot more than a regular peak divine demon's entire net worth. I'm afraid this is no regular person since he is able to ride a double-horned thunderous star beast. At the very least, his net worth must be out of the ordinary. All eyes were focused on Jian Wushuang. Someone soon walked directly toward Jian Wushuang. Brother, you must be planning to cross Dark Thunder territory? Join our Xiongfeng escort team. We'll make sure your entire journey is smooth and free of obstructions. Get out of here. What Xiongfeng escort team? You're just a second-class escort team. How dare you guarantee a smooth sail? Brother, you are better off with the Shenhu escort team. We are a true first-class escort team who are a lot more reliable than this Xiongfeng or whatever they call themselves. As for our asking rate, it's really not that much. It only costs you 5,000 drops of ancient god divine power. 5,000? Our Ziyun escort team is also first class, but we only charge 3,000 drops of ancient god divine power. One by one, the escort teams invited Jian Wushuang to hire them. Those escort teams were specialized in protecting cultivators to cross Dark Thunder territory, and cultivators would naturally have to pay them some fees for services rendered. First-class escort teams were considered some of the more capable escort teams as they usually had ultimate god experts at the helm. Some of the escort team members approached Jian Wushuang because he rode a double-horned thunderous star beast and assumed he was rich. Jian Wushuang felt weird from watching those few men around him competing for business. Just at that moment, "Look, isn't that Shuya escort team? Shuya escort team? A Crimson-class escort team?" The entire gathering spot was stirred with many cultivators who began looking at a specific area in the void. In the void stood a few peak divine demons carrying a flag with a bloodied tooth pattern sewed on it. Their cold voices resonated above the cultivators' gathering spot. "The Shuya escort team will begin our journey towards Dark Thunder territory in 3 days. We can escort 50 cultivators at a time, which means we have 50 spots to fill. The spots are obviously limited, so if you want us to escort you, please come to me and sign up immediately. As for the escorting fees, it's 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power each." Chapter 2509, Dark Thunder Territory, 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power as your fees? That's so expensive. Naturally, they are a Crimson-class escort team. In Dark Thunder Territory, even the 18 prefectures would have to think twice before doing anything within a Crimson-class escort team's presence. As for regular thieves, they can only escape when they run into Crimson-class escorts with no chance of carrying out their robbery. You would almost not run into any troubles with a Crimson-class escort team protecting you. I would really love to sign up since the Crimson-class escort team's protection is way more secure than second-class or first-class teams. My survival chance would rise greatly. It's a shame I can't afford to pay 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. A large number of cultivators began to discuss in the gathering spot, and very soon some went to sign up. There were even more people who were dying to join. Unfortunately, not everybody could afford 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. "Shuya escort team, huh?" Jian Wushuang squinted slightly. The next moment, he hopped off of his double-horned thunderous star beast's back, dragging the animal with him, and walked towards the Shuya escort team. The rest of the escort teams that went up to invite Jian Wushuang could only sigh without harassing him further upon seeing that. Jian Wushuang went up to the registrar. The person in charge was a tall middle-aged man who held a crimson tooth flag. "I'm here to sign up," said Jian Wushuang. "Double-horned thunderous star beast?" The middle-aged man looked at the beast next to Jian Wushuang instead. After pondering for a while, he said, "If you want to join the Shuya escort team, you will need to pay 30,000 drops of ancient god divine power as escort fees." 30,000 for the fees? People around were shocked when they heard that. 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power was already comparable to the net worth of a peak divine demon. Perhaps only an incredibly rich peak divine demon could afford 30,000 drops. "Why charge me 30,000? Jian Wushuang questioned. "Because of the beast." The middle-aged man poised at the double-horned thunderous star beast and said in a straightforward manner, "Double-horned thunderous star beast is worth 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. In Dark Thunder territory, the thieves would know how much you're worth as soon as they see your beast, and that will give them ideas. It's a greater risk for us to bear. As such, the fee you'll have to pay is naturally higher than the others. 30,000 is considered cheap. Feel free to find other ways if you can't accept the deal. Perhaps you can opt to sell the beast right here and come back to sign up. The Shuya escort team will then only charge you 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power." "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang understood and felt their prices were reasonable. He immediately flipped his wrist and presented an interspatial ring. "There are 30,000 drops of ancient god divine power in here." The middle-aged man then took it and did a quick scan before nodding and said, "Hey, erase your token and wait on the side." Well, leave after 3 days. Jian Wushuang held the token and went aside to wait. 3 days quickly passed by. Within those 3 days, the Shuya escort team's 50 slots were filled up. Over 20 figures rushed over from the void beside the area. Captain, all the 50 cultivators that were escorting have geared up. We're ready to depart at any time. The middle-aged man who held the flag stood respectfully next to a woman in purple armor. The purple-armored woman had a seductively hot body. Her face was extremely pretty with also a vigorous air between her eyes which projected a heroic demeanor. The aura projected from her was also extremely overpowering. She was obviously at the level of an ultimate god. Behind her were 2 other people standing beside each other who are most probably ultimate god as well. Good gracious, it's just an escort team and there are 3 ultimate gods. The rest of them appeared to be peak divine demons too. Jian Wushuang, who was sitting cross-legged on the double-horned thunderous star beast's back, looked around, scanned each of the members of the Shuya escort team, and felt quite surprised. 3 ultimate gods and over 20 peak divine demons. If a lineup like that appeared in any of the regular wildernesses, they could totally pick a fight with a dominant sect like the Great Compassion sect. However, they merely appeared before him as an escort team. There's nothing else to prepare, let's just depart, ordered the purple-armored woman. Aye. The middle-aged man nodded. Jian Wushuang and the rest of their clients soon began to enter Dark Thunder territory under the accompaniment of the Shuya escort team. Although Dark Thunder territory was a territory, its actual size was 5 or 6 times larger than that of a regular territory. It would take a very long time to cross over the Dark Thunder territory. However, Jian Wushuang did not care. After entering the Dark Thunder territory, he ordered his double-horned thunderous star beast to slow down its speed and keep its pace to match with the others while he sat cross-legged on its back and carried on with his studies. He did not take note or get involved with other matters, nor did he converse with anyone. The cultivators taking the journey with him would sometimes glance over at him with slight jealousy. Among the 50 cultivators being escorted by Shuya escort team, only Jian Wushuang was sitting on a double-horned thunderous star beast while most of those people were striding by themselves. It was understandable, as one double-horned thunderous star beast had already cost 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. With an escort fee of 30,000 added in, it would amount to a grand total of 40,000 drops of ancient god divine power. It was not an amount anybody in the group could afford to spend. Time flew by and a month had passed in the blink of an eye. In the past month, everything was peaceful within the group. Although there were some thieves who appeared to check out the situations, they fled in horror as soon as they saw the lineup of the escort team. Therefore, there were no thieves who dared to appear before the Shuya escort team up to that point, let alone one that carried out a robbery. One day, smelled the scent of blood? The purple-armored woman who led the escort team and also their captain suddenly stopped her pace. This scent seems to have come from ahead. Somebody's probably fighting. Let's go take a look, mumbled the purple-armored woman. The Shuya escort team did not choose to take a detour, there was no need. Crimson-class escort teams were free to roam as they pleased within the Dark Thunder territory as long as they did not run into the 18 prefectures. Chapter 25:10. The Robbery, Thieves. These are the thieves of the Dark Thunder territory. They wouldn't show mercy even if you beg for it. I know this escort team, it's Linghu escort team. They seem to be a second-class escort team and had invited me to join them before. Luckily I didn't, otherwise... Second-class escort team? Second-class escort teams in Dark Thunder territory are those who live on the edge of death. Hiring them for protection would give you a 50% survival chance at max. The first-class teams are a little better with at least 60 to 70% survival chance since they have ultimate god experts at the helm after all. Under the escorts of Crimson-class teams, we have an absolute 90% chance to cross over Dark Thunder territory alive. Many cultivators around Jian Wushuang were sighing upon looking at the sight in the battlefield ahead. The battlefield thieves noticed Shuya escort team's arrival as well, and their team's lineup immediately brought panic to them. Go, let's get out of here now. With 3 ultimate gods, They are a Crimson-class escort team for sure. We can't mess with them. Run. Following their leader's orders, the thieves immediately dispersed while trembling with fear. Such a sight made all the cultivators around Jian Wushuang laugh. That was quick. They don't seem to be too foolish. Crimson-class escort teams are a whole other story compared to the second-class escort team that they just annihilated. If they don't escape and the personnel from Shuya escort team charged at them, they will be slaughtered. The cultivators were even more confident towards Shuya escort team after their discussions, laughter, and seeing those thieves' reactions. They pushed on. Another 3 months went by like a flash. Adding on to the prior 1 month's journey, they had traveled for 4 months and Shuya escort team had arrived at the central region of Dark Thunder territory. It was still the same territory and did not look any different from other wildernesses. However, the Dark Thunder territory's central region had a thin veil of blood-colored fog in the air. That blood-colored fog was obviously caused by constant fighting and slaughtering. The Shuya escort team moved forward slowly and consistently. Once they finally arrived at the central region, even escort team members, including the 3 ultimate gods leading the team, began to look solemn. Not far from them in the void, a group of almost 100 people gathered. Boss, we've thoroughly investigated that the escort team nearby is a Crimson-class escort team. They have a total of 3 ultimate gods and all of them are lower-class ultimate gods. As for peak divine demons, they have 22 of them as well. A thin and weak-looking young man reported with a cold glint in his eyes. Standing before him was a man clad in black with eyes that were cold like a blade's edge. 3 lower-class ultimate gods and 22 peak divine demons. A lineup like this can only be considered normal among Crimson-class escort teams. How about the cultivators they're protecting? Anyone we should take note of? Asked the man in black. No, I've carefully checked those 50 cultivators who are being escorted. Most of them are only second-class or first-class divine demons with a few third-class divine demons and chaotic realm cultivators. As for peak divine demons, there aren't many. We don't really have to worry. Oh yeah, there's one among them who rides on a double-horned thunderous star beast, said the thin youth. Double-horned thunderous star beast? The man in black's eyes flickered. One who had means to ride a double-horned thunderous star beast must be a rich person. Boss, should we do it? Asked the thin youth with anticipation. The many thieves around also looked over with excitement. The man in black shouted straight away, of course. It ain't easy waiting for this big sheep. Besides, there's nobody else around to compete with us. Why won't we do it? A Crimson-class escort team, aren't they? The Celestial Beast Alliance are no rookies either, just follow my lead. The man in black led those 100 thieves and glided directly toward Shuya escort team. The Shuya escort team was still moving forward slowly out in the void. Just then, air friction noises were heard continuously from afar as individual energies began to enter the parameter of their soul perception one at a time. Thieves, prepare for battle. The purple-armored woman's face turned stern. How dare they rob the Shuya escort team? Are they tired of living? The experts in the Shuya escort team were startled and unsheathed their weapons in preparation to fight. The figures soon began to appear in the void surrounding them with as many as around 100 thieves. Any one of them had an overpowering aura, with the weakest being first-class divine demons. There were also dozens of peak divine demons within their ranks. The most eye-catching ones among the thieves were their 4 leaders. Their auras obviously showed they were at the ultimate god realm. So many experts? 4 ultimate gods and dozens of peak divine demons? No wonder they have the guts to rob us. Their lineup is so strong. Don't tell me they're from the 18 prefectures? The many cultivators under Shuya escort team's protection began to panic. Even the expert members of the escort team wore grim expressions on their faces. 4 ultimate gods? The purple-armored woman's face was void of expressions as her eyes scanned through those thieves before suddenly speaking in a low voice. Happy to meet you. I'm the captain of Shuya escort team, Xiao Tiexing. I wonder which one of the 18 prefectures are you from? The man in black grinned. 18 prefectures? I'm not from the 18 prefectures. I'm the leader of Celestial Beast Alliance. Celestial Beast Alliance? The purple-armored woman called Xiao Tiexin was surprised. There were countless thieves dwelling in the Dark Thunder territory with many thievery powers that were quite capable other than those 18 prefectures who were considered the strongest. For example, the Celestial Beast Alliance was almost as powerful as the 18 prefectures. Shuya escort team? Thanks, I've heard of you. I hear your captain is a woman and has a hot sexy body. I take that it's you? The fire of desire was burning in the black-clad man's eyes while staring at Xiao Tiexin. Gentlemen from the Celestial Beast Alliance, we never had any run-in with you. Within this interspatial ring are 50,000 drops of ancient god divine power. Let's just treat it as a gift from us. Please give us some conveniences to pass, said Xiao Tiexin grimly. 50,000 drops of ancient god divine power? Do you think we're beggars? Chapter 25:11. The Captain's True Colors, 500,000 drops of ancient god divine power? Xiao Tiexin's eyes turned stern. 500,000 drops of ancient god divine power was equal to 50 pieces of primordial stones. It was almost the net worth of an ultimate god. There were 50 cultivators the Shuya escort team was escorting, with each being charged 10,000 for their service rendered. It only totaled slightly more than 500,000 drops of ancient god divine power. That black-clad man was asking for 500,000 drops. The service would be carried out in vain if they gave it to him. Captain, what should we do? An ultimate god looked at her. Number 2, number 3, both of you follow me. As for the rest of you, think of a way to endure the thieves' attack. You don't need to endure long, just hold on for 10 breaths will be enough, said Xiao Tiexin quietly. 10 breaths. The peak divine demons in the Shuya escort team exchanged glances. Even though their number was a lot less than their opponents, they were very skillful and could even hold on for 20 breaths, let alone just 10. Charge! Xiao Tiexin did not waste a second. Her figure had already dashed toward the 4 ultimate gods of Celestial Beast Alliance up ahead in a flash. A bewitching purple sickle appeared in her hand. The other 2 escort teams' ultimate gods immediately followed suit. Ha! You really want to fight? You're really seeking death. The black-clad man laughed out loud when he saw that. Boys, destroy them and leave none alive. A huge number of thieves immediately screamed and shouted before charging at those peak divine demons of the Shuya escort team. The battle began in the blink of an eye. Right at this moment, the ultimate gods from both sides made contact. The Celestial Beast Alliance had 4 ultimate gods, while Shuya escort team only had 3. Xiao Tiexin, the escort team's captain, had an incredible stern face while holding her purple sickle with one hand. As she waved the sickle in the air, it left traces of purple lights in the void. Phew, phew, phew. It was evident Xiao Tiexin had only waved the sickle once, but 3 beams of bewitching purple blade light lashing out all of a sudden. Oomph. The black-clad man was also leading the Celestial Beast Alliance crowd and felt no fear as he watched the purple blade light dashing over and waved the heavy sword in his hand. The sword had strong momentum and an extremely heavy strike. In an instant, beams of wave-like sword shadows carrying heaven-shaking energies swung outwards. The 3 beams of purple blade lights were suddenly shattered. However, Xiao Tiexin had already appeared right next to him before the black-clad man could even rejoice. At the same time, the purple sickle was cutting downward at him from above. A beam of stern blade light appeared, like thunder on a sunny day. This woman is that fast? The black-clad man was slightly shocked, but his hand did not slow down. He swung his arm and the heavy sword was already blocking his front. Twang! Under the strong impact of divine powers, the black-clad man could not steady himself, faltered, and sank a little. Right at that moment, the mysterious purple blade light appeared silent behind him. The cold blade light cut towards his head like cutting wheat. What? The black-clad men were startled. Xiao Tiexin's blade skill and speed were completely out of his expectations. Right at the most dangerous moment, he violently moved himself to the side. The cold blade light sliced through the air next to his ear. The sharp blade that drew across made his face feel icy cold. "Blindy quick! Come help me!" shouted the black-clad man. A blind, white-haired old man with milky eyeballs behind him stepped forward. The aura of an ultimate god exploded outwards before joining hands with the black-clad man and began fighting against Xiao Tiexin. However, Xiao Tiexin's face remained as indifferent as before even when both ultimate gods joined forces. The purple light which was surging out of her body formed a purple shadow out of nowhere behind her. The purple shadow was in the silhouette of a purple demon deity. As soon as the purple demon deity appeared, Xiao Tiexin's aura had surged by quite a lot. Her speed had violently surged further as she waved her purple sickle. Phew, 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 phew. Beams of bewitching purple blade light were unleashed one by one from Xiao Tiexin's actions. The blade light was heartbreakingly beautiful and delicate. Its speed was shocking fast. While the black-clad man and the white-haired old man, two ultimate gods, joined hands and gave their all, they were still completely overpowered by Xiao Tiexin and ended up losing to her time and again. In a few breaths' time, they were already on the brink of being crushed. Damn it, how could this woman be so powerful? Two of us were fighting against only her and yet, we're still being overpowered. This woman's abilities are perhaps infinitely close to a high-level ultimate god. We won't be able to get anything with her around. "Boss, let's retreat," said the white-haired old man. Even though the black-clad man did not feel like conceding, Xiao Tiexin's ever-increasing pressure along with his other party members not being able to gain an advantage in the remaining battles had forced him to decide on retreating. "Fall back, retreat." It took no more than a short moment before those people from Celestial Beast Alliance had completely retreated. The experts of Shuya escort team and those 50 cultivators they escorted sighed in relief upon seeing that. What followed immediately after that was a big roar in the void. This truly is a Crimson-class escort team. Even the Celestial Beast Alliance has been defeated head-on. Marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Especially the captain of the Shuya escort team. Both sides are ultimate gods, but she alone could actually overpower two opponents. This captain is just too amazing. All eyes were shining with respect and focusing on Xiao Tiexin. In the crowd, Jian Wushuang, who had been sitting straight on the back of his double-horned thunderous star beast, had not flicked his finger once. He raised his head, took a glance at Xiao Tiexin, and secretly nodded. Good blade skills. She's very close to the first level of blade principles. She also has a very high level of law understanding. Moreover, the secret technique she performed is also very powerful. Her battle strength is truly great. Of course, Jian Wushuang was only praising her casually in his mind and closed his eyes immediately after that. It did not matter to him how the others were doing. All he asked for was that he could sit peacefully on the back of his double-horned thunderous star beast and study without any disturbance. Although the Celestial Beast Alliance thieves had started a big conflict with Shuya escort team, they had not defeated the escort team. Their overall battle had not affected him the slightest, hence he naturally did not bother to be involved. The battle lasted for a very short time. The Shuya escort team did not suffer any loss save for a few slightly injured peak divine demons who were not in any sort of danger. Xiao Tiexin asked the other two escort team's divine demons to go toward her. The battle just now has caused injuries on a few of our brothers, and we have consumed quite a bit of divine powers. Let's find a place to rest and regroup. We'll resume our journey tomorrow. That's true, but Xiao clan is such a large ancient clan and Xiao Tiexin is their eldest daughter after all. We want to know if she had taken some of it when she escaped. The gray-robed old man squinted and soon decided. You wait here, let me find elder brother. Dark Thunder territory was shrouded in freezing darkness during the night. In the forest, Shuya escort team and their clients were resting and regrouping. Jian Wushuang remained seated cross-legged on the back of the double-horned thunderous star beast while silently studying and cultivating by himself. The others were also sitting down and going about their own businesses. Some were recuperating their abilities, some were cultivating, and some were discussing the battle with the Celestial Beast Alliance that occurred earlier. In one corner, two peak divine demons of the Shuya escort team were sitting together and chatting casually. Our captain is really something. She could oppress two ultimate gods all by herself. One of them, a young man in a white robe, exclaimed. That's true. Otherwise, how can she become our captain? You're a newbie on the team. Naturally, you haven't seen many such occurrences yet. When you've seen more, you'll know how powerful she truly is, said the other bald man proudly. Are you saying she hasn't unleashed her full strength in today's battle yet? The white-robed youngster was shocked. The bald man smiled awkwardly and said, Well, I want no. Our captain is not only skillful. Her background is also pretty incredible. Background? The white-robed youngster was intrigued. The bald man looked around and quietly said after realizing nobody was paying attention to him, Ever heard of the Shao clan? Shao clan? Are you talking about one of the top clans in the northern Darkstar continent? The captain is one of them? The white-robed youngster exclaimed. Hee, now you know. The bald man smiled mysteriously before sighing a little and said, The captain is the Shao clan's eldest daughter and has lived in a very sophisticated environment since young. It's a shame the Shao clan fell into turmoil not long ago with their whole clan being annihilated. She's the only one from the Shao clan who escaped. The Shao clan is such a powerful family and yet they had been destroyed. Who in the northern Darkstar territory would have such capabilities to annihilate them? Don't tell me it's... The white-robed youngster thought of someone. Yes, that's the one. The most superior one in the northern Darkstar territory, the Territorial Lord, said the bald man. Why did he destroy the Shao clan though? Asked the white-robed youngster. Well, I did hear our two deputy captains mention it before that the Shao clan had obtained an extremely rare treasure by chance not long ago. Word got out by accident and the Territorial Lord caught wind about it. After that, destruction befalls the Shao clan, said the bald man. Treasure? It's just one treasure. Why would it garner the Territorial Lord's personal efforts in destroying such a large ancient clan? What's that treasure? The white-robed youngster only got more curious. I hear it's a painted scroll. I think its name is the Stately Painting, answered the bald man. The Stately Painting? The white-robed youngster had a blanket look on his face as he had obviously never heard of it. What are you two chatting about? Someone suddenly scolded. It was one of the ultimate god's deputy captains who walked toward them. The two were startled and immediately shut their mouths without speaking another word. The deputy captain harumphed coldly and left. However, nobody noticed over the course of discussion between the bald man and white-robed youngster, Jian Wushuang had already opened his eyes while sitting on top of his double-horned thunderous star beast. Furthermore, an unprecedented sharp glint was shining through his eyes. His body slightly trembled with excitement. The Stately Painting. Chapter 25:13. The Demonic Moon Prefecture. Previously, there were no changes in Jian Wushuang's expressions at all even when the Celestial Beast Alliance attacked in close proximity. However, just the mention of that treasure by those two experts of the Shuya escort team had shaken Jian Wushuang. The Stately Painting. Jian Wushuang mumbled in the corner of his mouth. In his past life, Jian Wushuang possessed two extremely valuable treasures in the eternal chaotic realm. Both treasures were given by his master, Xin Yi. One of them was Blood Mountain Sword, his default weapon which was upgraded alongside his own abilities. The second treasure was the Stately Painting. It was his secret weapon, his trump card, and also one of the 7-star Black Sect's most precious articles. After Xian Yi sent his soul into the reincarnation passage, he also sent the Blood Mountain Sword and the Stately Painting as well. The Blood Mountain Sword fell from the sky during his birth and was still in his possessions. However, the Stately Painting was lost. Jian Wushuang guessed the Stately Painting had probably fallen into the ancient god realm as well on the same day he was born, but its exact location was unknown. However, Jian Wushuang heard the name of the treasure mentioned once more in the Dark Thunder territory through Shuya escort team members' conversation. According to their conversation, The stately painting was only recently discovered by the Shao clan, which only led to their clan's destruction by the territorial lord's personal actions. Obviously, the stately painting is so extraordinary it stirred such madness in the territorial lord to annihilate an entire clan, but that doesn't mean this stately painting is the treasure which I've lost. Although Jian Wushuang was incredibly excited, he did not lose his rationality. There were many people in the world who shared similar names, so it would not be surprising if there were treasures that shared the same name as well. For example, it was entirely possible another painting scroll which was also a special treasure bearing the name the stately painting. Regardless, it did not matter as Jian Wushuang would not ignore it the moment he heard the name stately painting. The Shao clan may be annihilated by the territorial lord because of the stately painting, but I wonder if the painting is currently in his hands. Jian Wushuang squinted before moving his eyesight toward the purple-armored woman who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. This woman, the Shao clan's eldest daughter, must know everything about how her clan obtained the stately painting. Nothing else happened for the rest of the night. On the next day, everyone in Shuya escort team had freshened up and resumed their journey. They soon stood before a huge mountain. The group stopped there for a short while. "Captain, what we see ahead of us is the demonic moon mountains according to our map. One of the Dark Thunder Territory's 18 prefectures has nested inside the mountains. However, the 18 prefectures are infamous in the Dark Thunder Territory. If there isn't something valuable enough, they wouldn't easily take action." One of Shuya escort team's deputy captains, Ultimate Gods, reported. Although the 18 prefectures were also thieves, they had risen to the level of political powers. They had taken over the Dark Thunder Territory and regarded themselves as kings and overlords of the area. They still did indeed rob passers-by, escort teams, caravans, and experts. However, they would usually run a thorough background check on the other party to understand their abilities and potential gains before making a move. The 18 prefectures would not take action altogether if there were not much to obtain. The Shuya escort team was merely a regular Crimson-class escort team, while the 50 cultivators they were escorting had only very normal backgrounds. The only person slightly more unique was Jian Wushuang, who was riding on a double-horned thunderous star beast, but that was really a tiny benefit. Perhaps the demonic moon prefecture did not think too much of it. Even so, we still need to be careful. We should avoid troubles even if it's just some regular thieves. This is the base of the demonic moon prefecture after all, with a lot of thieves around. We're only passers-by, hence let's not get into any more trouble and finish crossing through this place within 2 days, said Xiao Tiexin. The rest would be smooth sailing once we pass through Dark Thunder Territory's central region, the demonic moon prefecture. The deputy captain agreed. Let's go then. Everyone entered the demonic moon mountains very soon, following an order from Xiao Tiexin. They moved at a moderate pace. After an hour, Jian Wushuang, who had been riding cross-legged on the double-horned thunderous star beast, suddenly opened his eyes. He scanned the surrounding voids once and shook his head. Looks like crossing the demonic moon mountains wouldn't be an easy job. He muttered to himself before closing his eyes. All was calm and uneventful within the first 6 hours after entering the demonic moon mountains. However, Xiao Tiexin, who was walking in front of the group, suddenly paused. "What's the matter, Captain?" The 2 deputy captains immediately looked at her. Xiao Tiexin looked serious. "Something isn't right. Our journey is too calm and smooth. The demonic moon mountains is the demonic moon prefecture's base. There are usually innumerable criminal activities going on here. However, we have been here for 6 hours now and still didn't see even a single thief. Not only did we not run into any, but there hasn't even been a single person spying on us from our surroundings. I didn't even sense a single beam of soul power. That's absolutely impossible." Although Xiao Tiexin was quite young, her years of adventures had trained her to be mature and methodical. She would definitely not be that naive to assume the situation was a coincidence. "Captain, are you saying the demonic moon prefecture has noticed us?" One of the deputy captains could not help but ask. "That's very possible." Xiao Tiexin nodded solemnly. "Then what do we do?" The deputy captain continued his inquiry. "Don't panic, Stay calm. We'll turn around and go back the same way. Well, think of another way to cross Dark Thunder Territory's central region once we are out of the mountains, said Xiao Tiexin. Aye. The two deputy captains solemnly nodded and immediately began sending messages to the remaining escort team members. However, something suddenly happened before they could turn around. A few waves of powerful aura suddenly swept across the void in various directions as a huge curtain of light gray-colored energy began spreading in an instant after that. The Shuya escort team and their current void location were soon completely shrouded by it. Is this restrictive shield? Besiegement restrictive shield. Xiao Tiexin began to worry. The peak divine demons in Shuya escort team and those 50 cultivators being escorted were also visibly shocked. Chapter 25:14. Reality, it's the demonic moon prefecture, it must be them. God damn it. Why did they lock onto us in the first place? Many cultivators in the Shuya escort team began to cry in disbelief. They knew the demonic moon prefecture had made a move when they noticed the restrictive shield surging around them. Only the demonic moon prefecture had the capabilities to decorate those mountains with such powerful restrictive shields. Furthermore, one could clearly differentiate between a normal group of thieves and the 18 prefectures by merely observing their restrictive shield. For example, the Celestial Beast Alliance who attacked the Shuya escort team a while ago would pour all the manpower and attack as a whole group the moment they started with no strategy whatsoever. However, when the demonic moon prefecture used restrictive shield formation to seal up the surrounding spacetime before attacking just to ensure no one from the escort team could run away. This was the evidence of demonic moon prefecture's foundation and absolute strength. Phew, 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 phew. Phew, phew. 7 figures charged over at the same time from the void ahead. They were so fast, appearing before the Shuya escort team in no time. Although there were only the 7 of them, everyone's face in the escort team turned shockingly pale. The 7 figures stood side by side in a straight line with their overpowering aura swept out. That was a total of 7 ultimate god experts. In addition, the red-robed bald old man standing in the middle of those 7 was probably their leader and projected an aura which surpassed a low-level ultimate god's. He was an actual high-level ultimate god. If a fight were to break out against such a lineup consisting of 6 low-level ultimate gods and a high-level ultimate god, hopelessness, the members of the Shuya escort team almost completely lost hope. Even Xiao Tiexin was secretly gritting her teeth while looking at the red-robed old man. She asked with a deep voice, I assume you are the governor of the demonic moon prefecture? That's me. The old man nodded a little. We wonder if the Shuya escort team has offended demonic moon prefecture in any way such that you are carrying out such drastic measures? Xiao Tiexin asked. Your escort team did not offend us in any way. The reason we came to you was because of one person. The red-robed old man pointed straight at Xiao Tiexin. Me. Xiao Tiexin was surprised. The captain of Shuya escort team, Xiao Tiexin. We know you're the Shao clan's eldest daughter and also the only survivor from the Shao clan massacre. We've come here just for you, said the red-robed old man with a resonant voice. There was a huge stir among the clients of Shuya escort team as soon as he made this statement. The demonic moon prefecture is here for the escort team's captain? That's what ID thought. All of us have pretty regular backgrounds. How would they target us with such theatrics? The person they want is the escort team's captain, of course. If I'd known this before, I won't be so stupid to spend such an amount of money to hire their team to escort me. This Shuya escort team has been hired to protect us but became the reason we got into trouble. What the hell? A number of the cultivators who were still glad they were being protected by the Shuya escort team started to blame the escort team instead. Not only they were blaming, they even felt a deep hatred and began cursing them. They were all blaming the Shuya escort team for getting them in trouble. All of that was clear in the red-robed old man's eyes as he mysteriously smiled. Looks like you're all panicking, huh? Actually, there's no need. We are only here for Xiao Tiexin. As for the rest of you, you're not our target. I've already ordered my people to leave a few gaps on the restrictive shield. There's still time if you want to leave right now. We can go. The cultivator's expression changed, with some of them downright joyful, but not without a slight worry. However, the red-robed old man coldly continued. If you want to go, you better do it soon. The gaps will completely seal up within 10 breaths. Anyone who stays in this restrictive shield formation, except for those from the demonic moon prefecture, will die by then. The cultivators who were previously protected by the Shuya escort team let go of all their hesitations upon hearing that. Quick, run. 10 breaths is enough for us to escape from the restrictive shield. Although we won't be protected by the Shuya escort team anymore and the rest of the journey would be extremely dangerous, it's still better than dying here. This is clearly the Shuya escort team's fault. Why would I die with them here? They began to shout. The escorted cultivators began running toward the restrictive shield's edge from all directions. There were even a few peak divine demons who just joined the Shuya escort team escaped without any hesitation, since they had neither feelings nor emotional connections with the team and Xiao Tiexin. The remaining escort team members who chose to stay saw that and gritted their teeth in agitation. You maggots! All of you stop. Stop right now. A bunch of bastards. Idiots. The two deputy captains were also shouting angrily. Number 2 and Number 3, leave them alone. Just let them run if they feel like it. Xiao Tiexin's demeanor appeared to be very calm. Aloof would be more accurate. She had experienced such a scene before. Countless clans and sects bowed at them when the Xiao clan was at its peak and seriously took every word they said. However, all the clans and sects immediately disappeared without a trace when the Xiao clan experienced destruction from the territorial lord's personal attacks. None of them was willing to offer even a wee bit of help. That was reality. Cruel reality. Xiao Tiexin had a clear view of reality and did not feel surprised by the action of those people. They really believed the demonic moon prefecture's governor would let them live within 10 breaths? Naive. Xiao Tiexin thought sarcastically. The Dark Thunder Territory's 18 prefectures were infamous. The reason for their infamy was built on nothing but endless killings which caused the shrouding crimson fog. It was true the 18 prefectures did not easily attack, but when they did, everyone within their sight would be killed without showing the least bit of mercy. It was nice to hear the red-robed old man's words which promised to let them live. However, perhaps he did not feel like wasting so much energy and was reluctant to suffer any additional loss on the demonic moon prefecture's side. If her predictions were correct, those who scattered and ran out of those gaps would probably be killed immediately and mercilessly right after they left. In the end, perhaps not many would survive. Chapter 25:15. Xiao Clan's survivor. Only in a short moment, the 50 cultivators who were previously escorted by the Shuya escort team had completely cleared the place. No, it was more accurate to mention that one of those cultivators actually stayed. That person was none other than Jian Wushuang. Oh, there's actually one who stays behind? The red-robed old man who was the demonic moon prefecture governor was intrigued. Xiao Tiexin and the rest of the Shuya escort team experts who stayed back also looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Everyone else had left except for this man. Noticing everybody's glare, the cross-legged Jian Wushuang on the back of the double-horned thunderous star beast smiled awkwardly and said, "Sorry. I truly wish to run, but my beast isn't listening to my commands. It has become frozen from fear." Everybody immediately looked at the double-horned thunderous star beast. It was true that the beast was shuddering and did not dare to move a muscle. Wild beasts were fundamentally cowardly. They would not be able to move as long as they felt the auras from strong divine demons, let alone being in front of so many ultimate gods. What an idiot! He's on the brink of death and still won't let go of a wild beast? The ultimate gods from the demonic moon prefecture began to scoff, and nobody paid Jian Wushuang any more attention. Eldest Miss Xiao, the Xiao clan was one of the top clans in the northern Darkstar continent. We hear there were even a few peak ultimate gods, not to mention your foundations were extremely strong. Although the clan has been annihilated, perhaps you still possess some family wealth that you brought with you as the sole survivor of the clan? The governor stared at Xiao Tiexin with full of anticipation. Xiao Tiexin stared at the demonic moon prefecture governor and scoffed, "Mr. Governor, it looks like you're here for my family's wealth. As one of the 18 prefectures, you probably have a pretty well-organized intelligence department, yes? Didn't your agents find out the territorial lord has robbed us completely of the clan's wealth?" "Yes, our intelligence did state so. However, you escaped from the Shao clan after all. You should have brought with you some resources and treasures when you ran. The Shao clan was so large that even a tiny part brought out, say 10 or even 5%, will still amount to huge wealth," said the governor. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, Mr. Governor. I did bring a portion of wealth with me when I left, but that was only the interspatial ring which my mother passed to me. My mother's accumulated wealth only amounted to 6,000 pieces of primordial stones. If you want it, you can have it. Why did you even utilize such a dramatic tactic?" As Xiao Tiexin spoke, she flipped her wrist and presented an interspatial ring. Lying quietly in the ring were 6,000 pieces of primordial stones. 6,000 primordial stones? The demonic moon prefecture's ultimate gods were happy to hear that. According to market value, one piece of primordial stone was equivalent to 10,000 drops of ancient god divine power. 6,000 primordial stones meant 60 million drops of ancient god divine power. It was a great amount of wealth for any high-level ultimate god, let alone a low-level ultimate god. Even the demonic moon prefecture, who accumulated an enormous amount of wealth through the ages, could still not ignore 6,000 primordial stones. For those ultimate gods, it was worth their time if they could obtain it. However, the demonic moon prefecture governor did not look too happy. 6,000 pieces of primordial stones were a lot, but was still a lot less than what he expected. The governor raised his head and said coldly, "Xiao Tiexin, don't think you can get away with just giving me 6,000 primordial stones. Perhaps what you carried with you is truly 6,000. However, your clan elders probably didn't just give you primordial stones when you escaped. There are probably treasures which mean a lot to the Shao clan, some secret techniques and whatnot. All those are highly valuable stuff, a lot more valuable than the 6,000 pieces of primordial stones. Surrender all of it." Xiao Tiexin's heart sank. She did bring some exceptional items when she left, but those items were her growth capital, and some were even for the Shao clan's revival, unlike the primordial stones. The primordial stones were only a considerable wealth, and as long as she became powerful, they were easy to obtain. However, the rest of the items with her had their clan taken ages to accumulate. She absolutely could not give up those things. Just 6,000 primordial stones. I don't have anything else. If you promise to let us leave, I shall respectfully present them to you. Otherwise, we'll have to fight it out, responded Xiao Tiexin frostily. Fight it out? Eldest Miss Xiao, perhaps you look too highly upon yourself since you don't wish to give up the Shao clan's treasure. All I can do is to kill you before checking your interspatial ring myself. The governor sneered as his eyes turned icy cold. Do it. Boom. The 6 ultimate gods next to the governor immediately sprung into action. 2 giant waves of ultimate god auras began pressing against each other and shocking everyone in the Shuya escort team. Number 2, Number 3, be careful. Find your chance to escape. Xiao Tiexin instructed quietly and dashed forward in a sudden burst. Purple lights surged from her body as she dashed forward while dragging out a trace of purple shadow. The purple shadow was actually in the form of a purple demon deity. Xiao Tiexin's aura suddenly surged a great amount when the demon deity appeared. The bewitching purple sickle also appeared in her hand without needing to mention it. Charge! Xiao Tiexin's killing intention rose sky-high as she swung the purple sickle with one hand. Bush, bush, bush. 3 bewitching beams of purple blade light immediately swept outward. The purple blade lights were incredibly fast and instantly blocked 3 ultimate gods of the demonic moon prefecture. The 3 ultimate gods also immediately reacted. Unexpectedly, Xiao Tiexin's movements were also extremely mysterious and unpredictable. She flashed and swayed along with her inconsistently flashing blade lights produced by her purple sickle. It was extremely unpredictable and incredibly powerful. The three ultimate gods joined forces, but could not gain any advantage over Xiao Tiexin. They gradually and eventually fell into a disadvantage. Goodness, this woman is really something. All three of them were shocked in their minds. At that very moment, the governor who was behind the whole time stepped forward. "Ha! Eldest Miss Xiao, let me experience your skills." The governor laughed heartily and a bright red stone staff appeared in his hands. The battle strength of a high-level ultimate god blasted outward. Boom! A staff shadow appeared out of the blue in the void above and began hitting down at Xiao Tiexin like huge waves. The staff shadow was heaven-defying as it sealed up the void around Xiao Tiexin the moment it appeared and not giving her a chance to dodge. She could only swing her purple sickle to fend those attacks off by force. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.